Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. Welcome to BloodRayne, a podcast about sexy vampires. Ho, ho, ho.
Can you smell it?
No. No,
you
although
can't.
smelling was a big part of the narrative
There's a lot
of this film that I can't recall much of it now.
Yeah, they could have called it Blood Smell.
They could have. I would have liked that better, I think.
Yep.
I would like
Blood
that better.
Smell, the Third Reich,
Can,
starring Clint
God.
Howard
God. Can I
doing
tell
a
you?
voice.
Can I tell you right
Okay.
away? My spiciest take right away. Are you ready? Right up top.
Yeah.
I think this is the most BloodRayne of any of the three of them. Like I
agree.
I think he
I was
nailed
thinking
what he
about
wanted
that
it
too.
to be here. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking about that because, first of all, hour and 20 minutes. Good. That's a good
Oh
thing.
yeah, still
about
boring.
This movie.
Still too long. But
Yeah,
but-
still
but-
too long.
But he did it. Yeah.
But yeah, so, fuck, man. Okay.
That's right.
We,
You want
So-
to hear my first note, Dave? You want to hear the first one? Yeah, I know you do. You want to?
yeah,
hear
I
it.
do.
I wrote down the words. God, I was so depressed pushing play on this DVD menu.
Yeah. Six unskippable trailers on this DVD menu.
Yep. Every time I was like, this could be the movie. Is it the movie? Nope.
Yeah. Yes. I started notes at the first
Yep,
trailer. I was like,
me
all right,
too.
here we go.
It's just like, why wouldn't this be the movie? Anything
Yeah.
could be this movie. I don't know.
Anything.
I don't know.
This is all right. I want to say this is the best of the three.
No.
We can talk about ranking later. I guess.
Yeah, we
if you want
can.
to save that.
I don't know how you're going to rank anything above that Madsen stab.
Yeah.
That is classic. That's the important thing that came out of this journey, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Nothing
So-
important came out of this movie. Nothing.
No. I guess
one thing.
nothing important came out of any of these movies. But
agree.
yeah,
I agree.
this one is okay. Okay.
Dave, I have one more observation that's not the movie. Are you ready? Just one
All
more.
right, yeah.
Just one more. I think the cover box features a different actor. It's not even the right
Yes!
actor.
Okay, thank you.
What?
I didn't
What?
because this is the BloodRayne. Well, this is the BloodRayne from the
Second one.
sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she looks different to me in general.
Yeah. They changed her hair big time. They dramatically changed her hair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But the cover version looks photoshopped.
Not the same
To
actor.
death.
I don't think it's the same
Yeah.
actor.
You might be right. You might be right.
They don't have the same eye color.
Where they're
That's
like,
a
we
huge
need to get. Yeah, we need to get you in to shoot the cover, and she was just like, "No, I'm done."
Yeah. Honestly, on the behind the scenes, that kind of felt like the vibe. She did not. She was not thrilled on the set of this movie. The other actor, who's like the main actor of this, that's not her, like the rebel leader, was straight up mocking Yuva Bowl in the behind the scenes stuff.
Amazing.
Like straight up mocking him. Like I don't know if it was supposed to be like we're all winking at each other or what, but it was like, yeah, this is not good. And
He was in BloodRayne 2.
Yeah,
mind
he
you,
was
as a
he
different
was-
character.
He was prison exposition boy.
Yep, and
Yeah.
he since has a career. He's been in a Gilliam film. He was
Great.
in The Revenant.
Great.
So I think he was in Tideland in 2005.
Yeah.
So this is 2011. So I think he's just gotten too big for his britches, right? And he's just like,
If this is his britches, then he's definitely
He's-
too big for him. Yes.
yeah, he's in the new film Violent Night. I
mean, sure.
He
Sure.
plays Krampus apparently in that film.
That's
so
fun.
yeah. He's got a whole career now. So good for him.
That's fun. He's the only actor who was doing a decent job in this movie. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
I
Sometimes
mean, I think Clint Howard was He did exactly what we needed him to do.
Oh boy. Yeah.
He was like, I know what this is.
He was right on tone often, but I feel like they also gave him too many lines. Like, as in, like, not even like he was bad in the lines, just like, this character just wants to make a one-liner and walk away. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah, but they had Clint Howard.
Right.
And they were like, well, we need to use Clint Howard. And I'm sure Clint Howard was just like, okay, you get one take every time.
He should have. He should have said that.
Yeah.
He was fun. He was having a fun time in this role. Is that safe to say?
It wasn't. Yes, but the role isn't fun enough.
No.
Yeah, he's doing a voice. He's doing his best with this situation he's in.
I think, to be clear,
when he got shot, he was like, like he made a meal of it, and that's what we needed.
It was a great death scene. Also, I think it's fair to say nothing is actually fun in this movie, right? Like, I never had fun.
Yeah.
Did you ever have fun in it? Ever?
No.
Me neither.
No.
Never one time.
There was a lot of just rubbing my eyes and stuff. I would say this movie is, and I'm not saying it is sexy. I'm saying it's the sexiest of the BloodRaynes.
I think it's when
it successfully does one sex scene where they're not dirty and in a jail. But then it makes up for it by doing a sex scene when they're dirty and in a jail.
Well, that's how she feels comfortable, Dave. That's just where she's comfortable.
This is the closest also to like the Cinemax version.
I think that's what it always wanted to be. Yes, I think that's always what it wanted to be. That's why I say this is really what it was always supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's
the movie opens with the Holocaust. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, dude. I was
and
yeah. Yeah.
The first line is, my mother raped several times by my father and Holocaust. And it was like, I don't know about this, you guys. I don't know about any of this.
Deeply concerned. I had to find anything to distract my mind because I was like, I can't do this with this guy. And I did find one thing, Dave, that I think you'll enjoy. They never show Ben Kingsley's face during the opening montage.
Yeah, I don't think they were allowed to.
It's his footage. He can't get the licensing for it.
I don't know why. I feel like they weren't allowed to. I feel like they got a message from the Kingsley estate that was like, listen, you forget my fucking name.
I will literally burn you to the ground.
Yeah.
You want to see a fucking vampire, bro? I will show you the truth. Show up there.
Yeah.
Just destroy this stupid little production. It was very funny to me that they didn't put his face in there. It felt like such a conscious choice.
Oh yeah,
I laughed my ass off. So like, the reason we have this whole monologue up top about the Holocaust and everything is, I guess, to justify why BloodRayne is in this movie at all.
Right?
Why she's here? Why it's her story?
Yeah, it starts with her being like, "My dad raped my mother," so in a way, he's a lot like Hitler.
Yeah,
that's basically what they're doing at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesus Christ. The credits take about 10 minutes.
Yep, they do.
And they're just trains going to concentration camps. And it was like, this is intense.
Like,
what
are we doing? Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're not earning this. That's for sure. And this takes up like almost 10% of the movie
of the runtime.
Yeah, credits. Yeah.
Is this like trying to be Schindler's List? But in the back of your head, you're like, but I know it's a vampire movie with boobs and swords and shit. So what are we doing here? Like, this is weird and gross. Quick logistical question, Dave, that I know will send us on a little bit of a spiral. I hope that's okay. How long do Daphneers live?
What are Daphneers?
Thank you. It's what she is. A
Daywalker.
Yeah, I guess Daywalker is the right term. It's technically half human, half vampire.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in the last one. Yeah. So
how long?
In the last one, she was in the Wild West, right?
I stipulate that is true, having never remembered a single minute of that movie. I've
blocked
that one
it
from my brain.
It takes place in the Wild West. So I guess she heard about the Nazis and came
by
to
boat.
Fight them.
She took a boat over here.
I guess so. So I forget when the first one takes place, but she's been around for like 150 years, I want to say.
She said in my second century, as part of her monologue about how Hitler was basically her dad, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is where I was like, what is her life about? Like, what is it about? You know?
They never. So I think they're trying to do like a Mad Max, where it's like, what does Mad Max do between films? Does he like hang out? Does he have friends? But Mad Max is, of course, good. And it successfully does that better because it's trying to show Mad Max being like kind of the mysterious stranger who comes into town. This, it does, you do start thinking about that more.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, because it's all from her perspective. And it's her story. Yeah, I don't fucking know. I don't know what she wants. Like, I don't know in the grand scheme of things. Like, is she a vampire hunter? I guess.
But why is she? Is it just like my dad was terrible, so everyone like him must pay?
I don't know. Where was the fucking Brimstone Society? Where were they in all this?
Where were they? That's right. Where was the Madsen estate in this movie?
Yeah,
I agree. They should have at least had the audacity to name the rebels the Brimstoners or something.
Right.
That would have been something.
I didn't know what the rebels were. Who were the rebels?
They're just people who don't like Nazis.
Were they?
Sure.
Yeah, I was like, is this American soldiers? What is this? And they're just like, yeah, they're just rebels. It was hard. The only reason I knew what the Nazis were because they were Nazis.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
at the beginning during the concentration camp, one of the Nazis says something like, everybody get on the train in a perfect American accent.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, what?
Dude.
What is that?
The American accents.
Bull, you're a German, man.
Yeah, what are you doing, bro? It's the one thing you had to your advantage here. It's like, make them speak German, you know, like...
Right, German, like have them speak it.
They shot this in Croatia too, so just to be clear, it's not like they got a bunch of American actors because they were local or something.
Right.
Like there's no reason for them not to speak German. There's no reason.
There's no reason. Yes.
It's so weird hearing a Nazi go like, "That's it, man. I'm gonna get you." Like it's just like what?
Yeah, like some of them do have German accents later, but like it's one of those things where it's like. Nazis 101 in movies. It's like, okay, if you're not going to have them speak German, I get it. Sometimes, Indiana Jones.
Yeah, sure.
They do that a lot. Then have them have the fucking accent.
Yeah, the German accent. That's part of it.
They hear like a dude from like the Midwest be like, hi, I'm a Nazi. It's like, no, you're not.
Don't you guys like corn?
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck is this, man? Again, you're German. How do you fuck up like the one thing you could do? Can't you just like call your friend?
I really like the real football, the one you kick stuff with.
Yeah.
It just doesn't it's
like he went out of his way.
Yeah, it's so incongruous that you never really recover from it. It's like having a concept stroke and you just never totally recover from it. You never get all the way back.
Exactly. No, this movie immediately just smacks you.
Yeah.
And you're on the ground the entire rest of the movie.
Yeah, you're constantly trying to get up. It keeps tripping you down. Like sits on your chest for a while. Like it's a real bully of a movie.
And we haven't exited the beginning credits, mind you.
No, we
the beginning credits, 10 minutes of this, American saying Nazi stuff, and then the word also starring Clint Howard coming up, and it's just like, oh, okay, so we're in hell.
Yeah.
This is hell. Holy shit.
This really did feel like punishment, like cinema punishment.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I was so bummed about the Holocaust at all. Like in this
Most
context.
people are.
And rightly so. But in this context, it was just like, dude, we shouldn't spend 1 second on the Holocaust in this movie.
No.
Like not 1 second. And
here's what I think he's doing. Because he made a movie about the Holocaust.
Okay.
And
I
think there is there's a case for like you look at like how Tarantino did in Inglourious Bastards. And you could argue, although Inglourious Bastards does handle this. So actually, I would say Tarantino is a bad example. When you do like these Nazi zombie stuff, like Call of Duty does it.
Sure, right.
Or like there's like Dead Snow or something where they do this like, ooh, yeah, where it feels like purely aesthetic, where they know that Nazis, it's like, yeah, we can easily make Nazis the bad guy. And then they just do the aesthetic and they're just kind of mindlessly like, it's the movies that are like doing it as this like ironic thing that's also completely like forgetting the weight of what the Nazis did.
100%. Yes.
And I think what Uwe Boll thought he was doing, and you could argue was doing just badly, was not forgetting the weight of what the Nazis represented.
That's what he wanted to do. Yes.
Yeah, and so he thought, like, let's start with the concentration camps so we can remember, like, they're terrible. But as you pointed out, this is a movie about vampires. I don't know what the solution is. I think the solution is to not make this movie.
Well, I mean, dude, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. But I do think in the aggregate, it would have been a better choice not to have the Holocaust references. Like, I really do.
Or even just not make it about Nazis, or make it like the new Indiana Jones, where I guess it's like leftover Nazis. Do like secret Nazis,
That's
or
weird.
like go full Wolfenstein with it.
Well, that's what
where
I mean.
You just rewrite history.
I think
something.
Wolfenstein is actually a pretty good touchstone for what this wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I feel like that's really what we're dealing with here. Is like, sure, there's some references to the actual atrocities, and there's the overall Nazi vibe of that the Nazis have doing terrible things, but it's just killing a historical movement that's awful, that we all agree is awful. It's
right,
just that,
and there's just watching this beginning sequence, the credits into the sequence, and thinking about this these old men and women and children who are sitting on set to play Holocaust victims in this Uwe Boll vampire movie. It's just it's hard, man. It's real hard.
Yeah, I'm just
to think
opposed to
about.
it. I'm just artistically opposed to it because the Holocaust is enough of a subject. It doesn't need to be spiced up in any way. And there's definitely a line later on, I guess I should say it now, where the rebel says, like, well, we were tired of killing just Nazis. Like, the fact that they're vampires will spice things up around here. I'm like, that's the problem right there. That is the problem. It's enough.
That offended me.
Yeah.
That was he was like, I'm sick of Nazis. Yeah. Now we got some vampires, so shit really gets real.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry. I think the Nazis are worse.
That's enough. Yeah, that was enough. If you're not getting your thrills in from killing Nazis, then you're killing for the wrong reasons.
Right.
That's my theory on it. Then you're just murderers.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hard agree.
Yeah, that's my stance on that. Yeah. So the fight scene right up top, they kind of give you a sample of the action right up top because
so
the rebels stop a train full of Germans, and then out of nowhere and out of time, BloodRayne shows up with two swords to chop them to death.
Like a leather pilot's hat.
Yeah, she looks like
she looks stupid.
She looks like she looks like a leather Elvira. That's mostly what she looks like.
Yeah, and it's once again I asked, is she cold or not? Because it's her in this long leather. I mean, I know the real answer. She's dressed like a video game character, and what I mean by that is that she is dressed in full leather, no armor, and just tits.
Yeah, boobs,
there's a big tit window.
Yep.
And it's like, man, I'd figure you'd cover those up too if you're covering up the rest of your body. It's that thing where it's just like a leather like duster that she must have cut a tit hole in. All her clothes, she cuts tit holes.
Her clothes are absurd. Her clothes are out of Blade or something.
At what point she wakes up fully clothed in a bondage outfit?
Right.
What? It's like, what the fuck?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody else is dressed like a human.
It's again, it's the kind of thing that makes you want to ask questions about this character, logistical questions, what is your deal now? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because, by the way, she is a little bit of a horny character in this movie.
She's the horniest she's ever been.
Yeah. And so, now it's no longer this is just a dumb director. Now it's a little bit of is this a character statement, what you're trying to do with her? Because it's weird and it's unclear. Right? I feel anyway, hated it. The first action scene, very stupid. And it culminates in what is essentially the plot of the movie, but it culminates in this German officer who ends up being the big bad of this movie, being sort of stared down by her at sword point, essentially. And he's like, who are you that are so who do I have the honor of exchanging my last words with, which is already very stupid. And she gets shot from behind by a German officer. And for a very brief moment before the next thing happens, it's did she get shot in the head? Because it really looked like she got shot in the head. Right?
Right. and then I guess movie over. But also like no, I don't know what kills her. I don't know what kills her.
I don't think anything kills her.
Yeah, well,
Nothing.
She's weakened by this shot, so she has to drink blood.
Sure,
that's what happens.
Okay,
so like. I understand where you're going with this because later she has her blood drained from her body and it doesn't even affect her.
Right.
Like it's not even like they more than any other film, she's the most like impervious. Where it's like I don't feel there's stakes in this
exactly
at all
because it's.
But like what I guess what I mean is like in the second one they were like we're gonna hang you and that was I guess a threat and it was like wait. So that's a problem. Like I don't know. Again, they never kind of just say here's what the rules are.
Right.
In any of these movies. So like she's shot and she seems weakened. And I was like, oh no, is that bad? Because I don't feel like it's bad.
I'm not
you're
convinced.
Acting like it's bad.
I'm not convinced it's bad because I've seen the other movies now, so I kind of know nothing matters. Like you know what I mean? It's like like this movie definitely assumed you'd seen the other two.
Yes.
More than either of the other two did.
But it still doesn't mean that it makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
If you've seen the other two,
it completely doesn't. In fact, I would say they got the wildest they've ever been with the rules in this movie. Like,
right.
For reasons we're going to talk about in a second. The reason I say that it was the being shot in the head thing is everything we've learned about vampires in this movie suggests a head wound is pretty much fatal. You know?
Right.
A head wound, because they die by sword in the stomach all the time. So, like, a head wound is, like, you know, it's pretty hard to come back from that, right? So, why, like, and I know she didn't get shot in the head. She got shot in the shoulder, but the angle was so bad and so unclear that it literally created this problem that Dave and I are talking about now. Like, and I'm just going to point out the directing flaws when they happen. This is a camera angle problem that created confusion about where she was shot and therefore created a story question that they couldn't answer.
Yeah, this tends to be we talked about this a lot in the second where it's like you eventually go, "Oh, okay, I see what happened." But he's so bad at the language of cinema that every scene you have to like infer from what happens next. What happened.
Correct. Yes,
yeah,
correct.
We're like, oh, okay, so I guess she's okay.
Yeah.
Like I guess that person did live after all. Oh,
yes.
They have to say out loud
That's
that this
right.
happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Like this is the first moment I had to rewind once or twice to like figure out what happened. There was a couple of them in this movie. I noted them this time.
Good.
Also, just like obvious thing, bro. If the Nazi wants to talk to you when you have him at gunpoint or sword point or whatever, just kill him. You know what I mean? Like, don't listen to him. There can be no positive outcome of that dialogue.
So this is the first plot point baffles me.
Yeah.
Because as we noted, she gets shot.
Yeah.
And then she seemingly has to regain her health. So she sucks off this Nazi.
Right.
She bites him and sucks him off.
Right.
And then she bounces. And what happens is she turns him. He becomes a vampire.
Yeah.
And it's a big plot point because he becomes the villain. And she's like, oh no, I created this monster who's impervious to everything except for rocks. We'll get into it. And so I was like, simply don't create the vampire then. Because like she's been doing this for a long time.
It's really
how did she not like
how did that happen?
How did she not Yes.
Yeah.
How do you accidentally turn a Nazi into a vampire? Because she bit him, and they didn't do something. See, what they could have done is like she bit him, and then like the train crashed, or someone interrupted her. But she just bites him and walks away, and has plenty of time to like chop off his head, or like make sure he's not a vampire. Because
or drink
again,
more blood, drink enough blood. You know,
she's a vampire hunter,
right?
And what a vampire hunter, I feel like fucking day one of vampire hunting school. Don't make more vampires. You're trying to do the opposite.
That's the opposite. Yes, if there's one thing she shouldn't do, it's this.
Right.
This is the one thing she shouldn't do.
Yeah, and she just does it.
Well, it
and then later it's like, oops, and it's like, how did you not know that's what was happening?
And bear in mind, this is a complaint that you and I have after figuring out what actually happened, which that takes about 10, 15 minutes.
Yes,
to figure out what happened here.
I was like, oh, because they show him he's like speared, and then they show him wake up. Impaled. They show him wake up, and my first thought was, oh, he was already a vampire.
Yes. That's what I thought
she
too.
didn't. Yeah, surely she didn't turn him into one. That would be
Correct.
stupid.
Correct.
And nope, that's what happened because they have to say it later.
Well, so okay, I hate having to say this, but I'm starting to feel like wow, Twilight was a much more structured world because like they had a whole ethos on how somebody turns. They had it figured out. It was very dumb with like the fucking venom and shit. It was very dumb. But like this is fucking devil may care, man. This is like people are getting vampired for reasons that don't make any fucking sense, and they're vampired magically by bad bites or whatever. And then people are doing it strategically in this movie for the first time, turning people into vampires, and none of their strategy makes any fucking sense either.
Yeah. How does it make you feel that Twilight is our peak? That was the high point, and it's just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's a real cosmic comedy you and I are living out, sir.
Yeah. It makes you wonder what's next. Yeah. What's next that will be like, say what you will about BloodRayne, but it at least had this.
I'm terrified, Dave. Like,
me too.
I'm afraid I'm on a train to who knows where. You know what I mean?
We're just lowering the bar.
It's just really
every
bad.
single time.
This was really bad because I'll say this like as a general observation about this movie, more than any of the others, I felt it defied continuing to care. Like it was wacky and zany, but I was I really didn't care by about 40 minutes in. You know?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, it's that realization. So this happens with a lot of indie films, good or bad.
Sure.
But it mostly happens in bad ones. Is where you realize, okay, this is the limit to what they can do. When you realize, like, you get like halfway through and you're like, oh, it's not going to get better than this. The action isn't going to escalate. They're not going to find a better location. Yeah. This is as much as they can do.
What if this is as good as it gets?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I just want to make one more comment about her outfit. Her outfit's very dumb. Her holsters for her swords are in her jacket. Like her jacket has holsters, like sheaths, has sheaths in it, which is like, all right, that's dumb. They got rid of the stupid sword, the baton swords. They gave her regular swords this time. Good move there. They dyed her hair. Her hair is black, but it has red highlights in it that could never have existed any time before 2008 or whatever.
Oh yeah,
like
I don't know
so
what
dumb. You know why?
Yeah. As the IMDb Goof section points out, the term "motherfucker" is a modern term.
Of course it is.
Too. Yeah, and they say "motherfucker" a lot.
She says it as a cool line 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, we said this. I mean, remember how they also say times they are a changing.
Dude, I wrote that down. Oh God.
Which didn't we flag this earlier that they keep quoting like songs?
Yeah, bro.
That are modern.
They quoted that. I was like, how many other Bob Dylan lines you want to fit in here?
Yeah,
like a Rolling Stone. How's it feel, Daphne? Here. It's like, come on.
They do not care about what era this is in.
Sometimes I wonder if this is the difference between making a movie in your own culture or not. Like, and I'm not, I'm not trying to be condescending, but I feel like, is it possible that Uwe Boll doesn't care about the sort of collecting American culture and throwing it wherever? Doesn't think that matters.
Here's my theory.
Okay.
Is that he's a time traveler and he's still bad at making movies. Because this, to me, is how a time traveler or someone from the future would look at this era, where it's the same way we look at the past, where like we look at like Egypt and we just mush in all of the culture.
Yeah,
you
that's
know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah. Make a real postcard out of a 3-dimensional object. Yeah.
That's what this feels like, is Uwe Boll looking at like hundreds of years of history and just like not being able to distinguish that timeline.
Right.
And so he must be from the future.
I mean, so like I've seen movies that do this in a way that's very charming. Like, for instance, Shakespeare in Love. Whatever you think of that movie, the anachronism in it is fun. You know what I mean? Like the fact that it feels like 90s, culture a little bit in Shakespeare time. It's a fun thing. Or like more...
It's intentional.
Yeah, more obviously like A Knight's Tale, which is intentional in quotes, but also just sort of a fun teen movie, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is going for action film, but also it was really going for period drama for a little bit there.
Yeah, it doesn't know what it is when it comes to tone. And I would argue none of the BloodRaynes quite know.
No.
Because it's that thing where Uwe Boll has a dumb sense of humor too. and he's also horny,
Yes.
like a child,
Yes.
like a teen horny.
Yes, the actor who plays the rebel in the behind-the-scenes commentary said, Yuva Bull doesn't realize how funny he is. He's the only one who doesn't understand how funny he is.
Right.
And I was like, I can't believe they left that in, number one. But number two, it's like, well, that's a pretty profound understanding of what's going on here.
Yeah. Uwe
know?
Boll probably left that in on purpose and still didn't realize how funny he was. Like
They showed him directing one of these action sequences. And like, there wasn't anything about it. It was like, oh my God. Like it was, standard director, but it was pretty fun to watch him like basically like force the choreographer to do this happens, then this happens, and this happens, and this happens. And like everybody's kind of walking around watching it and just knowing the end product is not going to be good. You know what I mean? Like that's amazing.
It's interesting to watch. Like this one has like a 3-way sword fight.
Yeah.
And it was like, man,
Yeah.
this sucks.
Yeah.
Like look at all the effort they're putting into making this boring.
Well, the funny thing
It's a lot of that.
Is like they got the stunt coordinator for this was on like 300 and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, so they had like real talent here behind the camera a little bit. I think it just shows you that when you're at the top of the movie, the director, they have to really see what this is and how to make it work. And if they don't, everybody else's work doesn't matter,
Oh, absolutely. Everything lives and dies by the director.
I mean,
right?
A little bit. The director can't make a good movie by themselves. Like
it
always requires extremely talented collaborators to make a
Might
great
I-
movie. Of course,
Might I point you to what's his name? Janusz Kaminski,
sure, of course.
cinematographer for
Janusz.
Schindler's List.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
Cool as Ice.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, but Cool as Ice.
Right.
Have you seen Cool as
I have
Ice?
not. No, I have not.
Yeah, and so it really is that thing where you're like, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's bad, it's bad. You get one of the best cinematographers to direct Cool as Ice. I'm sorry, or to do the behind the cinematography. It's gonna suck still.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
just how it is.
I know everybody
And
agrees
so-
with this, but it's a really good case study of it, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all. So BloodRayne immediately joins the rebels. They don't seem worried about her. They're just like, sure, right? That was weird, right?
Yeah, okay, so they seem to know she's a vampire. They have a moment where
Yeah.
they say like, "Oh, you're a vampire," and then she just sort of joins their little troop, right?
She doesn't seem to want to. They seem to want her to, for reasons that are like, why? Like, why
and
would
again,
they want her?
the rebels. The big problem with the rebels is at no point do they say like, "This is who we are." Like, here's our background. Here's why we're doing this. You can kind of guess, like, yeah, they don't like Nazis, but like, it's not like Inglourious Bastards where they're like, oh yeah, we're Americans that are specifically doing this or that. They're not soldiers. They're just like a group of rebels in like Germany, I believe, who are, I don't know, maybe historically there were people like this, but I would love for them to say, here's what our deal is.
Right. I mean, yeah, this is the kind of thing that in a movie they have a walk and talk, right? Like this is in a movie they would have the leader would take Rain in and she'd be like, why the fuck should I join you? And he'd be like, listen, we have all these are all the checkpoints we've taken out. How many have you taken out? 3. Well, we've taken out 50. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just something like that.
I hate to say this, but the movie's only an hour and 19 minutes. They could stand to add a couple minutes to it to explain who the characters are.
Yeah, if they made me care about the other minutes, then they would be minutes well spent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my next note was, wait a minute, that officer survived? That was my next.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck's going on? Because the Nazi guy who gets impaled and then vampire bitten is alive, and it's not clear that he was turned to be a vampire by her for a pretty long time.
Yeah, we have to slowly learn this
Yeah.
over time.
Yeah.
And do we get it in the next? Because I remember the scene where they want to show that the Nazi is bad, which I would argue you don't need to.
Yeah, as though we needed that. Right, exactly.
Where he's talking to another guy and he says, just a moment, and he fires his gun, and then it cuts to an old lady, and her head just gets blown off.
I couldn't
and it
believe
cuts
it.
back to him. I couldn't fucking believe that for okay.
I couldn't believe
Can we
that.
talk about this?
Yes.
Because one,
Yes.
I don't know where those two were in relation to each other.
Nah, I don't know where they are. Yeah.
It's literally like this Nazi goes, just a moment, points his gun and fires, and they cut to like not a reverse shot. Like another shot that isn't framed in a way to
Right.
complement that.
Right.
And it's a close up.
It's a single of her. Yeah, it's a close single.
Yeah.
Of her. Yeah.
And she gets shot. She gets shot, and it's like the wrong direction she's facing in the head. And we don't know who this old lady is. They never showed her. They don't show prisoners in the shots around him, I believe. It's like a comedy beat. It's like, it reminds me of in like Crank when they fire a gun and then they cut to like the old lady and her bird explodes, and it's meant to be a comedic moment in Crank. In this, it's I think supposed to be serious.
It's also arbitrary in a way that's not the same arbitrary as it would be in Schindler's List, right? So like Schindler's List has a bunch of arbitrary murder in it, right? And every time
they're trying to show that.
Yes,
yeah.
every time they do it, it's for one of two reasons. It's to show the value of human life, how low the Nazis value it, or to show like it always shows that, or to show like the arbitrary consequences that the Nazis enforce, right? Like, oh, you didn't answer it, boom, I kill this person, right?
Yeah.
Sort of the cruelty and the
Right.
arbitrariness of it.
That's the thing is if they show and when they do a scene like this, they give a reason, right? Where they're like target practice or they're doing something crass.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and this is more like it's supposed to be a demo for like how intense he is, but it really just comes off as like, and now a break to kill someone, done, and like not even in the way that like Ray Fiennes is like targeting people with his rifle because he's bored.
No, it's again, it's comical. It's like
Yeah.
Dr. Evil needing to show he's evil, 'Cause
Right.
It's literally he could have picked up a puppy and snapped his neck,
Right.
Like because again, they don't set up that there's prisoners there either, so it's literally like the equivalent of him pulling a baby out of his jacket and shooting the baby and being like, one moment while I shoot this baby for no reason, and then let's continue on. He just wanted to show that the guy was bad.
Honestly,
and we don't need that because he's a Nazi.
I'm glad you weren't there to ghostwrite on this because any suggestion you made would have happened.
Yes.
Him pulling a baby
And
out
it
of a
would have
jacket.
been better. It would have been better.
That would have been better, and it would have honestly been exactly the same emotional beat. I completely agree.
Right.
You missed one thing that I really wanted to talk about, if you don't mind. So, in order to enforce how intense this lieutenant that is sort of our like straight man on the Nazi side, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like we meet him, and he's kind of the one guiding us through the Nazis part of the story. He meets this like other soldier, and he's like, "Okay, are you paying attention? Are you paying attention?" And the other soldier's like, yeah, sure. And he wasn't apparently paying attention enough because the officer slaps him. And the slap was the worst slap I've seen in a movie.
Is this what the guy keeps saluting?
Yes. It was
Yeah.
the worst slap ever. They didn't add an extra sound to it so that it felt
Yeah.
more weighty. It literally felt like something I could do to Dave for a comedy beat on a screen, and we both would think it was funny.
Right,
It was
yeah.
horrible. Horrible slap. And I just needed to point it out because it really bothered me. Also, just before we get in too far away from this, I guess just as a general comment, Rain is very bad in this movie, right? Just very,
Like,
very. The acting,
the performance?
is very bad. Yes,
Oh, I would
She's
say,
bad.
yeah, across the board, the acting's bad, but she is not good. No.
she is worse than the second
I
movie.
think, I think
thought.
she's checked out.
Yeah.
I think she's checked the fuck
Yes,
out. I think
agree.
the first movie, or the second movie, which is her first movie, she was like, hey, I got a shot here.
I'm gonna do it. Yes.
Yeah, and she must have gotten fucking, like, lumped into a two-picture deal or something. That's my assumption.
She probably
because
got paid. Right.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure she got paid, too, yeah.
Like, but by that I mean she probably made a pretty decent payday to be in this.
I
think.
hope, yeah.
Yeah, I do
hope.
too. I hope too because it's a bummer of a role.
She
for
gets
her.
naked. She gets naked in this one.
Yeah, really dumb too.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. So the next scene, if you don't mind, Dave, the next scene is
I don't mind.
that. So like the scene that you and I want, which is Rebel Leader and Rain explain who they are and why they're teaming up. We don't really get that. We really kind of get more of an argument where we see that Rain doesn't really want to be there. Nobody in the Rebel outfit but the leader wants her to be there. And she gets real mad and quits being there because he cooks her blood too much. And it's like, why is he cooking her blood? Like, why? Literally, why cook blood? Can you answer me that? Why does he cook blood?
I blocked this whole thing out.
Why does that happen? Damn.
I don't know. I think my brain discarded it because it was nonsense.
It was such nonsense. It was like, and like he was very passionate about it. Like he was making some like personal stew for her, and it's like, dude,
right?
She drinks the raw shit. What are you doing here?
Yeah,
what are we doing?
It's kind of cute. Like in a better movie, I like the idea of like, what do you feed a vampire, and like trying to make them like blood soup.
Yeah,
and
home cooked blood. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's sweet of you, but no, I don't need that. Just hand me a rat.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, or whatever animal you have trapped around. And to me, it's like, well, no wonder his troops hate her so much. Like cooked blood. Can you imagine a worse smell in your little cave operation?
Yeah,
than
that's
that?
awful.
My God, really bad decision making by the leader. Not the last time we'll have some of that. Yeah, not the last time.
I never got a sense where they were. Do they ever say like,
just some
where
cave?
Are they?
Right?
Yeah, they're in like a bunker.
Yeah, some
and
bunker.
I couldn't tell like where is it in relationship to the rest of the city.
Right.
Where are we in general? I don't know.
Right. Right. I don't know, man.
I mean, that's all.
Tell you.
That's all.
That's all there is. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. So
Yeah.
I got my next note is about how the Nazi was upset about Clint Howard torturing a vampire.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't understand this Nazi anymore. Why he's like, yeah, this is barbaric. And it's like, you're a Nazi vampire. I don't know, man.
They're doing this to regular people all the time. That's
exactly.
So like, yeah, what is the deal here?
But we do, at least we learn now that the world is aware of vampires. Or rather, the Nazis have a vampire doctor. And that's Clint Howard.
Yes.
And he's talking like he's talking like he's like Igor. Like he's got this fucking hello master type voice. Yeah,
it's really stupid. But also it's probably the most structured and logical thing that's been in any of the three movies, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, yeah, there would be a Nazi doctor who's investigating vampires. I agree with that.
And he's a real ghoul. Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about him is never has a clean shirt. Never
one
time ever gets free of blood. Has it on him all the time.
He's covered in blood in this scene. In the next scene, he's also covered in blood in a totally different location. Yeah. And we spend a lot of time with him.
Yeah, lots of time.
And his work arrangements. Because he's like, I need you to come look at this blood or this other vampire. He wants to go look. He needs to, they ask him to go look at this oh yeah, this isn't the Nazi vampire. It's a different Nazi. It's like, I need you to look at this vampire Nazi for me.
Right. This is before we totally understand what's happened with the commandant who BloodRayne has accidentally made into a vampire. So what it seems like is, we're getting this sort of B story that is like, imagine if in Indiana Jones, instead of all the Indiana Jones stuff, we had like a 10-minute scene with like that weird bald Nazi guy who burns his hand, and it's just him like arranging his work and his travel shit, and it's like, bro, why do I want to watch this?
Because there's a whole scene where he's like, why did I have to come here for this? Get me a car.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know if I need to see this
It's
scene.
like, I think I agree with you, screenwriter. I also would say it's possible, Dave, and I don't know if you agree with this. This movie could have started in the third act. I think this movie could have started in the third act. Like it might have been better. Like if we had to,
it would have been 20 minutes long. It would have been great.
All right. Well, I'll repeat this later when you're more open to receiving it, Dave.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Which is like her leading a group of like Nazi killers, and we're in it. And it's like, and like,
I think
and like you can just say like, and my enemy is this other vampire who's a Nazi, and their vampires are infiltrating the Nazis, and I'm gonna kill them all. Or
things would have made way more sense.
Yeah,
like honestly, because it's like nobody who died was a person that had emotional substance to us, really. So like, and everything else was about sort of setting up this showdown. It's like I kind of feel like there's a more interesting conflict of there's already vampires ascending the Nazi organization, right?
Right. Yeah.
Also, I feel like this
we're seeing like the origins.
Right.
And it's like,
right.
Why?
Right. Why are we doing that? Exactly. I feel like this movie, like this concept of vampires being experimented on, wouldn't be such a small part of the Nazi regime. I feel like Hitler would be involved in this. I mean, right? It feels like, why are these two dorks in charge of this?
The idea, again, it's about the Nazis like bringing something to Hitler. It's about like the transit.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Of this, and it's very funny because you look at Indiana Jones, right? And
sure,
you look at like the Nazis in that are like, we're gonna go find the Grail, we're gonna go find the Ark, and then we're gonna bring it to Hitler. And the idea is that the thing they decided to make this the high stakes is them finding the item because it fits with Indiana Jones.
Right.
They didn't make a movie about them in the car going to Hitler with the item because that's the boring part.
Right. They skipped all the travel montage that happens in the third act of it, which, they skip all that. No, the whole movie is basically summarized by Steven Spielberg's dotted line. That's pretty much the whole movie. It's very dumb and bad. I agree. That cuts to perhaps the most preposterous plot line of the movie, which I hope you're ready for this, Dave. BloodRayne, knowing that she's known and hunted by the entire Nazi army, decides, bro, I just gotta get a massage. So she goes in broad daylight to a brothel to get one.
I had assumed I missed the reason she went to the brothel.
She needs a massage.
I thought it was like recruitment. Yeah, she woke up in her full clubbing gear.
That's right.
And she gets up and goes, I need a massage. I just assumed I had missed something here.
Yeah.
Because I was like, she didn't just go to get a massage.
Yep.
But she goes to a brothel to get a massage.
I rewound it too, Dave.
Know them?
I rewound it too. Okay. I was like, what is this? I don't understand.
And she's like a regular because she's like, oh, you're the best to like one of them. And then this guy is too handsy with the women, so she squeezes his balls and causes a scene.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, I guess we're halting the entire movie for this. And then one of the women working at the brothel is a Nazi stooge, is what we learned.
Sure. Yeah. They intercut her travel to tell this information with a gratitude sex scene with Rain and another sex worker.
Because she grabbed this guy by the balls and protected this woman, they're like, you have been rewarded a sex.
Yeah, that's literally what happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they take her into this massage, and I would argue this is the closest the movie gets to sexy. And I'm not saying it's very sexy, but it's at least not shot in a dirty jail cell. They look like they've showered, know? And it's like...
It's standard sex scene fare,
Yeah, it's Cinemax. Yeah. This is the point where they cross over into Cinemax.
Correct.
Because they're showing, like, as graphically as they can, this R-rated sex scene between two women.
And, like, I don't want to totally dunk on it. So I want to go back to the first question that I think is the most important question. Why in the hell does she need a massage so bad? Like, if she's a vampire...
She's doing a lot of work.
Wait a minute, Dave. If she's a vampire and she drinks blood that rejuvenates her body, she wouldn't need a massage. A massage is for those aching bones, Dave.
It's true. Everybody likes rubbies. Everybody likes rubbies.
Dave?
But, like...
Sure.
I understand what you're saying, which is like, why would you... Because people like rubbies because they're sore.
Right.
And she's not sore.
Right.
So she's just doing it for the rubbies, I guess.
This isn't... Right, so like... And like, look...
The equivalent is like... I'm trying to think of a part of the body. It's like having like your kneecap massaged, where it's like... It's not sore there. Maybe for some people, maybe. But it's like having a bone massage where it's like... I'm just feeling the human contact.
Right.
It's not actually helping anything.
And
she just likes the rubbies. She just wants to be rubbed down by a lady.
It isn't treated as though it's literally paying for sex.
Right.
But it's pretty clear the
first massage isn't sexual. And then the second massage is all sexual.
Well, that makes me think that maybe the massage is all a prelude to like just have sex. Like that's why she's there.
Yeah, maybe that was what was going to happen next.
Yeah, it could be. Like, I could accept... It would make this make more sense. That,
also...
She just needs to have sex sometimes. It also might make the character make more sense, Dave.
Yeah. Well,
right?
So I'm not... Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not knocking this, but, like, also, this is the first indication that she's bi. That she likes women.
Right.
This is never come up in the others.
Before. Yeah.
And again, I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, that's fine. But, like... It does feel like Uwe Boll was just like, I need this. I need a sex scene. between two hot ladies, and I'm just going to put this in, and I'm not going to do any work to establish that she likes women as well as men. It's just going to happen.
It definitely didn't feel like it was about like acknowledging her sexuality. It felt much more like it was like, it felt like exploitative. And it was exploitative. Let's be clear.
This is a lesbian sex scene that is absolutely not for women.
Oh,
it is for men.
No. Yeah, absolutely not.
The things they're doing, it's just like she's like kissing her belly a bunch. That's like her opener.
Right.
And I was like, that's weird. That's a weird thing to do as your like sexy opener. Like they don't even like kiss on the mouth, I feel like. And it's just like little pecks.
Yeah. Well,
what's happening here?
It has the problem of neither woman really wanting to do it. It does make me think it would have been funny to see all the things that he wanted to film. Like, because they probably would have gotten funnier and funnier from that vantage point.
Absolutely.
You know, like not quite Team America funny, but pretty funny. I feel like, you know. I still think we passed over this, David. It really tickled me, so I just got to bring it up again. While she's having the sex scene, we intercut with an entire dramatic wing of the story where this woman goes and reports to the lieutenant, and then they cut back to the sex scene.
Yes, that shocked me too. I wrote that down because I thought, okay, so you do a sex scene, and there's like some boobs, and they cut away, and I was like, oh, so they had sex,
right?
And then they do this other scene. It's not a montage. It's not intercut. And then the woman is like, I want you to know that BloodRayne is the woman you're looking for, and it's a long scene,
right?
And then cut back, and the sex scene is continuing,
right?
Kind of where we left off.
It's unbelievable. It's
unbelievable. Was like, oh, I guess we're not done with this.
It's completely unbelievable. Also, like, if there's anything you could have ellipsed, it's once we see the woman walk suspiciously out of the building, we know what she's going to do. We already know.
So if a better person made this, you do the sex scene and you intercut it with the portrayal happening in an artful way.
Right.
Of like the woman leaving.
And
you don't have her have a conversation. You have the woman leaving, and then you show like the woman in the room.
Yes, whispering to the commandant.
Yeah, and they show like him killing the woman, and it's all silent. Maybe have some music.
Yes.
And him coming back like intercut. But this is an intercut again. It is sex scene, this scene, and then back to sex scene. And it's really weird and abrasive.
Well, it feels very much like maybe they needed to pad the runtime or something. This is another fact, Dave, that I think is going to thrill you. So, like, this movie was made on time and under budget.
Damn.
And they were shooting sometimes...
You can tell, I guess.
Sometimes 15 pages a day.
Wow.
5 pages a day. So now for everybody's... for context, for everybody else, a movie generally shoots as little as a quarter of a page a day, but usually like 2-3 pages a day, something like that. Like, that's an efficient movie.
It's a page a minute, usually, in terms of script length to movie length.
Correct.
And there's a lot of stuff that goes into getting a shot.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work.
It's a pretty standard workflow in a feature film that has any kind of budget to shoot something like 2 to 3 pages a day. If it's like Star Wars, it might be a quarter of a page, right? Like, because they have all the money and time in the world.
Sometimes if you're like Kubrick or Michael Bay, a sentence will take a week.
If that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the worst case scenario. Like, an indie film's going to shoot 5 or 6 pages a day because they have to for money. A television show's going to shoot 5 or 6 pages a day because they own the same space, and everything's usually built around 1 or 2 spaces they have control of. So they don't have to spend time lighting and building it. So the point is, this guy's shooting 3, 4, 10 times as much as a normal feature film in a day. So how much planning could it be? Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's the whole... Yeah, and I think this is sort of the product of that, where it's like, shit, we don't really have quite enough movie. Throw some more of the sex in there. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I really feel like that's what happened
They barely made feature length here. They barely made it.
And it feels padded. Doesn't it? It feels really padded.
It does.
Yeah.
This sex scene is unnecessary.
Oh, 100%. We didn't need
Both sex scenes are unnecessary.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about the next one.
Great. I'm excited.
But yeah. So I also want to talk about something we skipped over.
Okay, great.
Nazi chess.
Oh, my God, please.
So multiple times, and this is one of them, the Nazis are playing chess.
Mm-hmm.
And their chess pieces are little Nazis.
Yeah, of course. They're always on brand.
Like, and I really need to dig into this.
Okay.
Because what I mean by that is that they're not like little Nazi chess pieces. What I believe happened is they went online and found like World War II figurines, right? Like these are
presumably, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's selling a chessboard with actual Nazis as the pieces.
They could have made
and
it.
if they
could have
they
made
could
it.
have made it, but
Yeah.
that's how I think they made it.
Okay.
I think they got a generic chessboard and they got a bunch of Nazi figurines, like historic figurines or something.
Well, I do know that they got authentic Nazi outfits. Like all the
Of
outfits
course
were
they did,
from
yeah.
World War II. So, take that for what it's worth.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
Yeah. But yeah, they play Nazi chess, and I just think that's very funny because it also makes you think about like, did the not like is what they're saying is historically Nazis were like regular chess not good enough. We need Nazi chess.
Nazi
Like
chess.
it means that like the Nazis as part of their war was like, all right, so we need ammo, we need like uniforms, we need all this stuff. Also, we need Nazi brand chess. Like we don't want to be playing that regular chess.
The German chess
Thank
will
you
take
very
over the
much.
world.
Yeah.
Right. That had to be what they were saying.
Yeah, it's like Clint Howard and this Nazi playing Nazi chess.
It's really also like the chess felt like it was some kind of a test. And it was really
Yeah.
unclear because for a minute there was like, so what is this guy, like a Frankenstein's monster? Like I don't understand. Why
Right.
do they play this? What does it prove? Why are they doing it?
Why are they playing the Nazi chess?
Yeah, I don't
I
get
think
it.
they just needed some business.
I guess.
But like it was clearly written into the script because they didn't just get a chessboard at the last minute. They had to like put money into that Nazi chessboard existing.
Yeah,
So
man.
it was apparently important.
It's possible that like they were tasked with just acquiring a bunch of Nazi paraphernalia, and that showed up, and it was like, that's good. Let's use that. That happens
Yeah.
in movies a lot, by the way.
I
Like,
could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, like you work with your production designer, you're like, this is the world, and then can you populate stuff? And once in a while, they show up with something that's awesome. And
Oh
you're like,
yeah, I mean,
shit.
famously, the lightsaber was invented by George Lucas going like to the prop master, like, I don't know, just put something together because George Lucas doesn't give a shit.
Right.
And the
Right.
prop master going into the truck and grabbing like bad old camera gear and being like gluing it together and being like, all right, this is a lightsaber now, and that was
Wow.
the iconic
Wow.
lightsaber. Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's amazing how little of a shit George Lucas gave making that movie.
But also amazing how talented some of these people that are working behind the scenes in movies are.
oh, absolutely.
Like that's amazing,
That man made movie history.
Yeah.
It probably in like a few hours in a truck.
Yeah.
Well, probably high. I just want to say that he was high.
Oh, sure. I mean,
But we don't
we're not
know
going
for
to verify
sure.
it, but absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So we agree though that all the informant stuff could have been cut, right?
Yeah. So
Not
what
one
this
good
sets
thing
up,
happens. Not one good
well,
thing happens.
it sets up that she turns into a vampire. Then Clint Howard has an extended scene with that doesn't go anywhere. So yes,
What's
the
the
answer
point
is
of
yes.
it? Yeah. What? Yeah. There was no point to it.
We get our first horny jail scene, which is like the vampire is horny because I guess that's how vampires.
Kind of?
When you turn into a vampire, you become horny, but also bloodlusty.
Sure.
I don't know, and he's like experimenting on her.
It was really
And we-
unclear what was happening there. I
Right,
thought.
and he's establishing all this stuff that you'd think matters, but it doesn't. It never matters. Where he's like, holy water just kind of burns you.
Yeah, kind of burns you. Exactly.
Whereas other vampires, it would completely fuck up. And like I'm like, okay, so this is gonna matter, right?
Nah.
No.
Nah.
Holy water never comes back.
Nah. Well, that's
And he has her, and
that's-
he's talking about like her bloodlust and her horniness, and,
which is a
and-
vampire thing, and
Yeah.
she's like, and to be clear, like if we accept the idea that Rain is sort of the den mother of this little strand of vampires, then like all their powers should be derivative of hers, right? So it's really
Right.
unclear why she has some of her powers and not all of them.
Right. You
Right?
know how when you watch the Lord of the Rings extended edition,
Yes.
and I personally, I know this is a matter of taste. I like all the scenes they add, but none of the scenes they add matter that much.
Nah.
Because
Right.
it's padding out the world. It's giving you a perspective, and you're like, oh, okay, this doesn't. I see why they cut a lot of this, but I see why it's also like this is creating the rich world and explaining more of the side characters and stuff. This movie is all of that.
Yep. That's correct.
It's all side scenes that never matter, that seem to be padding out the characters. Like this scene between Clint Howard and this vampire. If this was like a big epic and they included this scene in the director's cut, I'd be like, oh, I see why they cut this. But it also like speaks to his character. But no, it's just, this is most of the movie. This takes a significant chunk of the movie. This scene between Clint Howard and this vampire lady, who he then gets in the cage to like fight. And I was like, why are you doing that?
Why did he do that? Yeah, why did he do that?
And then he kills her with the holy water because she tries to kill him.
But it was like, he's like describing her nature to him, her, right? He's describing it. He already knows what she is. She's like, but I kind of like you. And he's like, well, then I better get in the cage. It's like, it's so dumb. It's like, why would he do that?
Oh, yeah. And I thought, okay, so is this going to turn him into a vampire? No.
Sure.
It doesn't push the plot forward in any way. Nah. He just ends up killing her.
No.
And I was like, oh, okay. So my assumption was it was his sexy jail quota. Because as we talked about, he has to do sexy jail stuff.
Yeah.
And what I learned is, no, there's going to be some sexy jail later.
Right.
So,
That's right.
what is the point of this?
So this really was skippable.
Yeah.
It really was skippable. I think you were right the first time where they got Clint Howard, so they were like, let's just add some stuff.
Right,
you know?
and I feel like Clint Howard was their big get. He's their Ben Kingsley in this one.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but unlike Ben Kingsley, Clint Howard is down for anything.
Yeah, he's fun. Yeah. He's like, sure, why not? What do I give a shit? You know?
Yeah, I feel like Clint Howard was like hanging out after he was wrapped. Like, just like, hey, what are you guys doing? What's up? No, I got time. Like, I feel like by the end of this, they were like, man, I can't get rid of Clint Howard. Clint Howard,
I couldn't
he
say.
won't take a hint.
That does feel true, though. If we're making decisions about what happened based on feelings, that feels true.
Yeah,
so I can't
it feels true. Not a knock against Clint Howard. I'd love to hang out with Clint Howard.
No, he seems great.
Yeah.
Honestly, the fact that he did this movie and tried and gave it something is like, man, you're a cool guy, dude. Like, you didn't really have to do that, I don't think.
I love Clint Howard.
Yeah, me too. He's fun.
I love that it's him and his brother, and I feel like even his brother is just like, Clint, I'm sorry. I can't cast you.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll put you in Apollo 13, and that's it, buddy.
I feel like people know how to use him, though. Like, he's been used in a funny way in so many things.
Yeah.
He's sort of a goober, and it's great.
Oh, yeah. He's a beautiful goober.
Yeah. I also enjoyed how this little sequence ended with, like, the casual murder of this informant, which is when I got to the place you were, which is like, bro, what? Like, I was really exasperated this time when, like, yeah, they just kill her. There was no reason for it.
There's no, and
sure.
It's like, all right. It's to basically have the Nazis show up. And, like, you literally could have had, a shot of someone making a phone call. And that would have done the same
She
purpose.
could have walked out of the room suspiciously, go back to the sex scene. She wakes up from the sex scene, and the Nazis are outside the building. And we would have already known.
Yeah, but
That's
then at first I thought, like, oh, okay, this is to make her a vampire, which to show that they're making more vampires.
Yes,
but
that's
then
what I
she
thought
gets
too.
killed.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay, so she's not I thought, like, she was going to come back in a big way. She was going to be a mini boss. But none of that's true. They keep using her until they then don't. And you realize, like, oh, so there really wasn't a purpose.
No, there's no purpose.
Character.
Also, like, it is weird that they don't make more vampires. Like, I feel like that's what the movie wanted to be.
I thought that was the point.
Right, like,
but
make
they
more vampires.
They want to make Hitler a vampire by, I think, bringing him her blood. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, all right. Well,
Their
because
plan is confusing.
She's the best vampire. So, like, that's why it's got to be her blood. That part I understood. But it really does seem like just make everybody a vampire. Just, like, immediately start biting people.
Right.
That should be his full-time job. Like, just bringing in soldiers. All right, you're a vampire now.
Yeah.
You're a vampire now.
Nazi vampires,
like, why didn't they do that? I mean, I'm
because
not rooting for him or
movie's
anything.
Not good. Yeah.
But, like, logic here,
Right. So we get the three-way sword fight here, which I don't even remember who she was fighting or why. I think it's just the Nazis show up and they like fight their way out, right? And it's boring. It's really boring.
It's pretty boring. The only thing that struck me about it is why is the commandant Nazi vampire, the one main guy, dressed like a hipster assassin?
Because he's a vampire now,
right? But like
he's got a. That's the thing is he's a Nazi, but now he's also a vampire.
So somebody's like handing him a leather fucking like hoodie.
Yeah, I think when you turn to a vampire, there's like an orientation.
Yeah, you get a standard
happens.
hoodie. Yeah, standard ghoulish druid fucking outfit or something.
Right,
made of leather that is not possible for that era. Yeah, that's what it felt like. So glad he got that. Yeah, man, I was writing down a bunch of shit here, and like none of it was tied to any particular scene. There was I did write down the times they are a change in line. That was around here, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, somebody just casually says that, and it's like, bro,
what's going on?
Come on.
What? Yeah, like why? Why? Again, it's their thing. What was the line from the second one? Because they also said a line.
The second one was a quote from The Godfather. If you keep my father always said, "Keep your friends close, and your enemies even closer."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this ties into Uwe Boll is just not very good. Like I think there's no consideration there. I think he doesn't even think about the historic timeline. I think he just takes a line. Like I think he was listening to the song while writing, and he was like, "That's good. I'll have someone say that." And that's it. I think that was the extent.
It barely even made sense in context. Like, it made some sense. It wasn't a complete lift, but it wouldn't have been less fucking absurd for him to have quoted Nirvana or some shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's all the same.
It's like, all right, sure. Like, he definitely feels like he compressed some of the 60s and 70s and stuff into this timeline, because why not?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he definitely telescoped all that shit together. Yeah, so then I guess the best way to summarize the plot at this point is she escapes the trap the Nazis have sprung at the brothel. Many of the sex workers don't. Many sex workers died to bring her that information. But okay, we never see them again, so that's it. And she's having some kind of an angry postmortem with the rebel leader, who at this point says most of his words with a yell. Right?
Yeah.
Most of his lines he's yelling, which I kind of think is funny.
He's not... All right, I do want to establish this because I'm setting up something.
Yeah.
He's not a very nice or charismatic person.
Nah.
They don't seem to like each other in any way, shape, or form.
Nah.
And that's important to note.
I mean, important.
There's no charisma.
Put that in quotes. It's important in the sense that it will prove exactly the thesis of this podcast, which I think is BloodRayne sucks.
I think that's what we're going to land on.
That's our thesis. Yeah, I think so.
She has a Hitler dream, right? She has a dream that Hitler's throwing her into walls. And that Hitler's a zombie, or not a zombie, a fucking vampire. It's vampire Hitler throwing her into walls.
And let's be honest, that is not entirely asexual for her, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like there's a kind of there's a little bit of a dark mingling of the senses here, I feel like.
Yeah. Also, what a day on set where they're like, okay, so you're Hitler, put in these vampire fangs. And, what's my direction? I don't know. Think like Hitler as a vampire.
I mean, the outfit is the direction. Look at it.
Yeah.
It's all right, sure.
Yeah. You won't have to do much, hopefully. Yeah. It's just like be Hitler and go, and have fangs.
Oh shit! There was one thing I wanted to say, Dave. So I'm sorry. Forgive me for this. There was one moment between the doctor and the vampire sex worker, right? The informant, that made me laugh very hard, and it was that they started to ask each other questions, and neither was responding to each other. So it really felt like they were starting to freelance abstract poetry between each other before he got in there. And go back and watch it; it's pretty funny. I
will have to.
It's so good. It just is so bad. The writing's so bad that you're like, are they not in the same scene? Are they making up lines?
Right.
It's really funny. That's all.
The whole thing's disjointed. It's all like a dream. These movies are like dreams where you're like, and then we were here, and I'm not sure why.
Right.
Clint Howard. It was like a Nazi, but it was Clint Howard, and
so it was kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of weird about it, and
Yeah, he never seemed like it was coming from an evil, angry place. It was always coming from this gleeful, I'm a Nazi today place, you know?
Right.
That's the thing he brings to every role is he's not really a maniac. He's really more of an impish little brother. You know?
Yeah.
So it was a weird read for this. Anyway, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. He's a Ron Howard type.
Yeah.
He I don't know. I go straight to them having been captured, and I don't remember how that happens. How they get on the truck.
Oh man. Oh, that's a lot that's like 15 minutes of the movie. So like there is
I'm missing time.
Yeah, well
wait, so
I don't
drained
blame
her
you.
blood, right? At
No, that's
he
even
drains her blood.
That's even later still.
The truck the truck comes first, then the blood draining. Am I to understand that
No.
they go on a truck, then they drain her blood, and then they go back on a truck? Because the movie ends with trucks. Right?
Hold on, let's piece together what happens. So she flees.
help me
We're
out.
at fleeing the sex workers, right? So then they like regroup underground, right, in their lair. This is when like the rebel leader and her have a little bit more of an argument, and we discover the character of Magda, who is apparently like clever. And her job is to be a code breaker.
The code breaker.
She's a code breaker.
They do like an Inglourious Bastard scene, sort of.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to it.
As well as Huey Bowles able to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to it in a second. So, like, the point is that, like, at this point, they're still trying to get Rain to cooperate with them, the rebel leader and Rain. And she says, and she's fucking right, everybody that works for me ends up dead. Like, works with me ends up dead. And he's like, well, that's our choice to make. And it's like, maybe you should listen to her, bro.
Yeah, it
Like,
also doesn't
maybe
feel like
listen.
it's your choice to make. It's
Yeah.
It feels like everybody who works with her ends up dead.
And they
because
don't
of
like her. And I can see why they don't like her, because she's a fucking death trap. And she's a fucking vampire.
Yeah.
You know, she never stops being a vampire. By the way, the whole Daphne vampire distinction is completely arbitrary, right? Other than she can stand around in daylight. So she's a vampire. Just to be clear, she's just a vampire. That's all she is.
Yeah, she needs blood. Presumably she's been eating cats and stuff this whole time.
Right. So it's really unclear why this rebel leader would ever want to work with her. It's really unclear.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm not sure what their goal is.
I mean, their goal is simple,
to stop
like
Hitler.
Yeah, let's disrupt the Nazis. That's their
But
goal.
I guess to go all the way in the beginning of this film, they open the trains and there's prisoners. There's civilians going to a concentration camp, and they're not like, ooh, they're free. They're like, damn, we thought there'd be guns. And then someone says, I think BloodRayne says, like, hey, you know, if they stay here, they're going to die. And they're like, yeah, we better get rid of them. So they don't care about the Jews that are being rounded up. They don't care about that. And that's why it was so hard to figure out
That's interesting.
Like what they wanted, because they were just like, we're here to kill Nazis. And like I thought I even thought that was the point, is like to show like they don't care. They're bastards. They're not good people, because they're looking over these people, and it's not about saving lives, it's about taking lives.
Yeah, it's about rebelling in a safe, like in a context where you get to be a hero for being a rebel.
Right, but they establish right away they don't care about these people. They don't care about the innocent lives being taken. So I thought, like, oh, surely they have a goal. You know what I mean? Where they're like,
no.
Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was like, maybe they do care about the lives, but maybe they're like, that's not our mission, you know? Oh, we got to keep our eye on the prize. Like, we're going to see a lot of tragedy, but we're on, like, I thought they had a mission, and they never, ever have one.
No, and like in a way that makes you frustrated, because in this last half of the movie, we're supposed to really get invested in their plans, and we don't really understand what they are. In fact,
no, their plans are to like stop the vampire Nazis that they were thrust into this plot. But like what they were originally out to do, like that would be an interesting idea, right? Is she's like, you help me, I'll help you. And like, yeah, we're trying to do this and you're trying to do this. No, there's none of that.
actually, I kind of feel like you might have stumbled into it here, Dave, because this is the moment where that line that we were talking about earlier, I was so sick of killing just Nazis. The undead will fire things up around here.
Right.
It's like, oh, so these guys are like terrorists in the sense that they're terrorists for the good side right now. But
right.
like, God only knows what they'll be.
Things?
Yeah, they're just killing people because this is the season. You know,
Yes.
which is like, that's not great. I don't love hearing that.
Yeah.
That's hard to root for that group. Even if they are killing Nazis, they still seem like they might be bad. You know,
Right. Like,
not thrilled. Not thrilled with that.
They're like Nazis first, then vampires, then
vampires,
when we're out of those,
then just whoever.
then civilians.
Yeah, then maybe we'll take those swastika armbands, put them on, try them out.
Yeah, exactly.
They look cool. Like that's the kind of people we're talking about here.
But it really is. Yeah, they're so directionless.
100%.
Yeah.
Right. But like, and I want to say, I don't think Yuva Bowl is trying to make this point, but I want to say like, this is a thing that exists in the world. Right? Like when there's like this kind of chaos, like there are people who will band together and like now's the chance to like go and murder and riot and everything, boys.
Right. Yeah. I'm just here to throw some bricks. But like
exactly. Right.
But like that, there's not that many of those people. And again,
usually
if
not.
He wanted,
yes.
Yeah. And I don't think Uwe Boll's making any point.
I agree.
That would have been an interesting idea if we
too.
learned that they were just robbing the Nazis.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that they do enough to show like, okay, they don't care about these people on the train. They just there to kill Nazis and take the weapons. And so that implies like to go out of their way to do that in the beginning, you're setting up a group that's like singular minded, that has a goal. And then the fact that he doesn't actually show what that goal is, it's like he's sabotaging himself.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
It's patently absurd. So all of this is basically to set up the final conflict, which kind of loosely hovers around 2 points, which is one, that they get captured, and two, that they get captured by trying to rescue this character called Magda, who's been in the movie, but like never in a substantial way, just with like looks and stuff. So
and she's their code breaker. She can break.
Right.
Yeah.
So like this is the scene we get to establish she's a code breaker. So she is she's in an Inglourious Bastard scene where she's dressed like it seemed like she was a sex worker, right? Like that was the vibe she was giving off.
Yeah.
Okay. And she's being fondled and stuff by a German officer who's like, oh, they just want to kill us because of the clothes they wear. Like it's all arbitrary, right? And she's like flirting with him or whatever. Then she's like, why do you feel me up every time I come back from the bathroom? And he says, because somebody could have hidden a gun in that bathroom and you could come out shooting.
Right.
Literally a quote from the movie Godfather. Like literally he's quoting the situation of the movie Godfather. So instead of that, she happens to have a gun taped underneath the table instead of the fucking toilet and kills him that way. It's a worse Godfather. They did a worse Godfather, which
also,
they telegraphed.
Yep. I want to note that I looked this up. She's credited with cracking the German Enigma code, which is a real thing.
What?
That, as IMDb states, a single person is not capable of cracking that.
And
like it's a real thing that like no
cracks
one can...
it with a gun to a guy's head. Like that's all it really is. It's like, all right.
So yeah, she has this quote unquote badass scene.
It's fine.
And then
like
the other people come in and then she like interrogates the guy.
Right.
And like it's gonna crack. I don't know. Man.
Right.
She puts down like a slip of paper, and I just was like going in and out.
Yeah.
So it was so hard.
It's really tough at this point. So meanwhile, Rain has that dream you mentioned, and then she goes to like a church or something, like some fucking
or something
cathedral
right.
fucking place, and the rebel leader tracks her down, and she goes, "How did you know I was here?" And I really wish she'd answered that question, because I also didn't know where she was. So I was like, how could he have known where she was if I don't?
Again, it's like self-sabotage. Don't set things up. Don't have those questions asked if you don't actually have an answer to them.
It's unbelievable. So then,
how did you know?
So then,
and Uwe Boll writes that down, and then he goes, "Huh." And he stares blankly at his computer for a second, and then he goes, "Okay, next scene."
Nobody will think about it. Nobody will think about it. Speaking of nobody will think about it, Rain then compliments him on his execution. Him being the rebel leader on his execution, which we did not see. We never saw this execution. So I had to rewind it a couple times. I was like, wait, is this like a reference to a fight scene from earlier? I don't understand. Maybe it's a cut scene, but it was like a clear mistake.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I understand it's really hard to like piece it all together. This movie defies, assembling into a coherent story. It defies that.
Yeah, it's like analyzing like a fucking Lynch film for a completely different reason.
Yeah, without any of the good, like
Yeah.
without any of the llorando scenes or anything, like none of that.
Yeah, there's
in
like
it.
fucking Terrence Malick shit.
but
Where you're
again,
like-
without the good, like
Yeah, without the good, without
Yeah.
the intent.
yeah, without the poetic monologues that are
No,
you know.
it's like an abstract painting versus a child's drawing.
Yeah.
You don't understand either, but there's intent behind one that's a little more meaningful.
Artistic, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Great. So I think they're back in the cave at this point. I can't remember. They have a really bad joke about she says oh, he's donning that Nazi outfit or whatever, and then he being the rebel leader goes, donned. Like, what? And she's like, well, I'm much, much older than you. And I had to stop and take a break from the movie because it was the screenwriter laughing at their own lines, flourishing over their own lines. And I was like, I can't have that. I'm sorry. I need to go for a walk. I was pretty mad. I was pretty mad about it. Had to take a break.
You're right.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm just done.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. It was really dumb.
Yeah,
Then we
took a
come
victory lap.
Then we come back. Okay, we're back in the cave again. And so I'm probably ellipsing time. So this probably is more like 2 times than 4 times the way I described it. We're back in the cave, and he he points out this this guy over here is going to take care of this plan. And she looks at him, and she's seen him 15 times. And she goes, who's that?
And honestly, I was right there with her. Right there with her. The problem is the cave itself, again, they don't say this is what this cave is. And I'm just and it all looks the same and it's so fucking dark. It's the same issue with the second one.
Yeah.
Where it's just I don't know who these honkies are. Everything's dark and in this fucking cave.
Yeah.
And I can't keep track of what fucking time of day it is, what the order of anything happening
how much
is.
time has elapsed. Yeah, man. So also another line that Rain has that really, really made me stop and think for a minute was she says to the rebel leader, I'm surprised your kind has survived this long. As long as you're here, we have a major problem. And I was like, I'm sorry, do you mean the humans? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. They just kind of
It'd be
threw it away.
amazing if she's you are Italian, right? If you just learned she's racist.
Wait, we know she's Italian. We know she's racist against Irish. We know
Right,
that.
we do know that. Maybe she's talking about the Irish here.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It was very. So, Dave, I'm really sorry. I know I've kind of taken over here. I'm just going through the
No,
notes to
because
get us.
my notes between this and the next part is I'm so bored.
Yeah. I wrote down this line, and I have no idea what it's in reference to. Stop it. Why? I just wrote that down. That was my note. Stop it. Why?
That could be anything. I don't know, man.
I don't know what that means.
I didn't realize so much film happened between my 2 notes.
I don't.
There's I'm missing time.
Yeah.
I'm missing time.
Yeah.
This film feels like it took a fucking week to watch.
Yeah.
And yet I'm missing chunks of it.
Yeah. So at some point, yeah, man, I know it was really fucking complicated. So at some point, the commandant vampirizes the lieutenant, who's a good tracker all of a sudden, I guess. And says, now hunt down BloodRayne. Here's some of the blood so you can smell it and get a good beat on it. So he
puts a tube. He sticks a tube in his fucking face. And he's
okay.
smell this.
So he does, I guess, and he finds her. And they pretty easily capture him. And he basically gives up all the information and they kill him. And it's they didn't even have to torture him. He just gave it up. He was just ready to be done with this shit.
Right. Yeah. Because there's this... It's he thinks they're going to let him live. And it's you must know they're not going to let you live.
They're at least half as evil as you. They're at least half.
Right. But there's no pushback. There's no torture.
He
she just beats him up and he's on the ground. Yeah, and he gives it up and then she stabs him with, I guess, some sort of garlic thing. Or she does something to make him go,
a steak.
Crumple up.
Yeah. It's a steak.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is a steak.
But
that makes sense.
Again, if I'm supposed to think either of the other movies happened, that doesn't make sense. But I guess we're past that point.
In other movies, they just shoot them.
Or stab them in the gut. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, we talked about this, and it remains in this one. vampires can be killed by holy water, stakes, or anything.
Yeah.
Like just anything.
Yeah. Holy water, light, stakes, or anything.
Or anything. Just
exactly.
Yeah, just a
regular
gunshot.
causes of death. Yeah, cancer.
Yeah.
They can be killed by cancer. Why not?
Old age, I don't know. It really seems like the vampires, there's no advantage.
Yeah. This is the only movie where it seemed like there might be because
Slightly.
she's lived forever, and there's that one moment in the brothel where she suddenly gains the power of super jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
first time anything like that has happened.
Yeah, she gains super jump, and we never use it again, although it'd be useful many times after this.
And before.
And before. But she never used it. Apparently, it's her last resort power. Fine. So, okay. During the fucking interrogation of the lieutenant, who's the vampire who doesn't fucking ever... who's like begging to give them all the information. He just wants to give them all of his information. He informs them that Magda has been captured. So like off screen, this person who we set up as the code breaker got kidnapped and maybe murdered. He tells us that. So we're like, oh, I guess that's how we learned that. And then after that, they show us the scene where she gets kidnapped. And it's like, what the fuck is going on here, man?
Panning it out. They don't have enough footage.
What is going on? It's like, and then when they do kidnap her, they put her in a barn, and they don't really seem to interrogate her. They just sort of set her up to be another vampire. They vampirize her, and then let her friends kill her.
I wrote down. I don't know why people are turning people into vampires at this point. Because, like, I get it when it's like, you're my lieutenant, I'm going to turn you. Like you were saying, the Nazis should be turning everybody into vampires that they want as an ally. But then there's other people that they turn into a vampire, like including BloodRayne turning the Nazi into a vampire, where it's like, I don't understand this.
Right. The plot.
Right, and she's in that, like, train yard, which is clearly the same set as the opening.
Yeah, it's clearly the same set.
That they're reusing.
That's right. They're reusing the set, and more problematic than that is the fact that supposedly they're taking her to a train, which is going to then, I guess, send her to Berlin. I guess that was the idea. Right. So they show up, and like immediately, BloodRayne's like, "There's no train."
Yeah, I'm remembering this now. This was a trap.
It's like, yeah, how did she figure that shit out? How did she know there was never a train?
The train could be coming, BloodRayne. Be patient.
Right. Yeah, or like could have already left. You know, like check a manifest. Do anything.
Yeah, because there's guards there, and they're like, why are there guards here? And that's where the vampire lady is, right? And they stab her, which I thought, like, BloodRayne, you of all people should know vampire doesn't equal immediately bad, right? Like, this is a good person. She was going to turn, in the first one, she was going to turn her lover into a vampire. Right, so it's like... Yeah, it's just like, why not just say, oh, good, we have another vampire on our side.
That's the thing.
But no, she's like, I'm going to stab you.
Yeah, she murders her immediately, and it's very much like, okay, I could see that maybe she changed over time, but, like, we just don't have a consistent sense of her goals.
Or we don't have a consistent sense of how being a vampire works,
right?
What the characters ever want, what she wants, what her standards are. Like, yeah, if there was a scene earlier where she was just like, never again will I turn someone into a vampire. You kill them on sight, but we never get that.
We never get that scene, right?
Yeah,
right.
And so, like, we never quite understand what her morality is in terms of vampires. Like, she doesn't like vampires, but she is one. So she must understand that some people can be vampires and that's okay.
Right. How can she, like, yeah, exactly. It's not like being a vampire instantly makes you a Nazi sympathizer or whatever.
Yeah, know? This is someone on their side.
Right.
And they're like, oh, she's a vampire now, better kill her. And it's like, fuck, man, like...
Why? Yeah, and they do it. They do it without fucking debate. They murder
They don't even talk to her
immediately.
Yeah, they don't even say two words to her. They're just really like, time to kill you.
It's really weird. So, like, all of that turns out to be a feint because they just wanted to draw them in this barn where they hung her up to be vampire murdered, and the Nazis are waiting outside and they capture everybody.
Right, and somehow they capture them. Because I thought,
somehow.
Like,
exactly.
I mean, this is like a video. You know, like whenever a video game cutscene happens, and your character gets like shot in the shoulder, and you're like, "So what? I've been shot millions of times. Why is this a problem?"
Right? Why is Arthur Morgan with the gang this time? I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's that where you're like, "Why aren't they fighting this time?"
Right.
All right, I guess
this
it's
is
a cutscene.
Yeah, I guess it's plot o'clock. That's right. So also, it's so funny that you say that because they literally have sprung like 15 traps on her at this point.
Yeah.
And they all kind of worked. So I don't know why we needed this one.
No idea.
Well, actually I do, Dave. Are you ready for my theory?
Sure.
I think that Reign just really needed a quick trip to prison. I really do. I really
She's horny.
Yeah, she really needed
horny.
a trip to prison. It's just the only way she can really, like, get all of her shit worked out. Yeah. So they put her in jail with the Nazis. They literally hang her upside down in her ridiculous Elvira outfit that makes me uncomfortable for her. They're sucking all of her blood out of her body as fast as she can make it, which, according to Clint Howard, is faster than can be drawn.
Right. He's like, I can't get enough blood from you.
Right.
And so he's apparently has like tanks of her blood at this point.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, so she's unkillable? Like,
right. She is like literally creating blood ex nihilo. Like she is an ocean of blood the minute.
And I need to.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I need to compare this to a film like Blade 1, where literally the same thing happens to Blade, is the vampires drain him of his blood. And in Blade 1, that's a problem. Because when you're making a movie, you're looking for drama.
Yeah, drama.
That's how movies work.
Yeah, drama.
And so in Blade 1, he gets weakened because they drain him of all his blood, and he has to regain, and he has to drink someone's blood, and it's this big problem, and it's a dramatic scene. In this, he's just like, I'm draining your blood. Good thing it doesn't affect you. And she's just like, yep. And then it never affects her. Then when she gets out, they're just like, she's fine.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Like, well, there's no drama here.
This is in theory to explain why she's fine, but it creates like literally time and space problems. Where it's like, I'm sorry. So is this woman like literally the Big Bang but of blood in her body? Like what are you saying right now?
It's like when you play make believe with a kid as a kid, and the kid keeps adding like superpowers,
right? Exactly.
To his character.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, so I guess nothing's a problem. I see.
Yeah, she'll be fine forever.
Yeah.
Right. So just to confirm that fact, the Nazi commandant, who's the main villain, who I feel like is appropriate to mention at this point, does not have a German accent. Just need to remind us that that's part of what's happening. Goes in and he's like, I'm going to bite the shit out of you now, right? And he puts his mouth right beneath her armpit so he can smother his face in her armpit.
Yeah.
He bites her in the stupidest place.
This whole scene feels like Uwe Boll is working something out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
he bites her right beneath the armpit in a way that's like, bro, bite her somewhere else.
Yeah, she should have been like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, come on.
And him being like, yeah, actually, like he should have been embarrassed too. Like, oh yeah, I was gonna go for your neck, and that felt like weird and like I didn't want to make it sexual. And then I went for the armpit, and that just feels worse.
But you did here, bro. It was a really weird place to bite somebody. And like they really made us look at it, and it was like, this is dumb.
Yeah, the whole, like you said, she looks uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like, I know the character's supposed to be uncomfortable, but you can't help but to think about this poor actress who's like wearing this outfit that it doesn't feel like she has much support for her boobs in the outfit.
Yes, I was worried about that. Yes.
Yeah. And she's hung upside down, and it really feels like anything can happen here in terms of wardrobe malfunction. And then the actress is, in fact, hung upside down, and they're trying to make her pale, so she's in pale makeup, too.
So you can see the blood underneath it, though. You can see that she's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see, like, an apparatus on her neck, and it's just like, put her down. Uwe Boll, put her down.
That's enough, man.
Yeah, just lie her on a slab. You didn't need to make her upside down for this, you sick freak.
I'm sure she wasn't like actually uncomfortable. I don't want to like create issues where there aren't any. Although if there were, that's a bummer.
To give you an idea,
I think sucks. It just sucks.
So on IMDb, IMDb has like a slideshow of pictures.
Yeah.
Like several of them are shots of her hung upside down.
Oh,
because
boy.
Whatever perverts are enjoying this movie, obviously that's. One of like most of the screen grabs people have taken are like just boob related, pretty much.
Sure, of course,
because of course it is.
Of course, I mean, like I feel like the movie unabashedly wants you to care about that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
God, yeah. I'm looking at her. She looks so uncomfortable.
She looks really uncomfortable. Yeah, she really does. I mean, also nobody looks comfortable in that situation because hanging upside down is not good for you.
Yeah.
But like. Add to it that she has to act. Add to it that she's being bitten. Add to it that her clothes look like they're going to fall off any minute.
Add to it that it's BloodRayne 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. This isn't worth it. Nothing about this is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's a real bummer. So one thing that made me laugh is when they were talking about how she learned the stunts, they kept bringing up the fact that she was a dancer in the behind the scenes, and I was like, that's a fact that you seem pretty excited about.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, okay, so finally, this leads to the rebel leader who's being, I guess, quasi-tortured, and BloodRayne being slapped in the back of a prisoner transportation truck without shackles on.
Yeah, and I don't know why the rebel leader is alive.
Why didn't they kill him? Exactly.
Yeah.
I have that written. Why isn't he dead? What does he know that they need to know?
Right.
You know, if you kill him, you probably kill most of that movement. Yeah.
Right, the whole movie, they're like, we need BloodRayne alive, and that's all they say. They don't need this jackass alive.
Right. Exactly. It didn't make any sense. It was. It seemed counterproductive. But clearly the movie needed him alive because finally we get to the consummation of this passionate thing we've been waiting for, Dave.
This is the most... I can't believe this.
I can't believe it either.
Even for BloodRayne, this was shocking.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
I'll set it up and you can knock it down.
Thank you, Dave. Yep.
They're in a prisoner transport. As you noted, they're not handcuffed, which is its own problem.
Insane. Baffling.
But imagine like Indiana Jones in the back of the truck with the Nazis. You know what? People are picturing this correctly. They're driving down the snowy road. They're in the back of the prisoner transport. It is a cold, damp Nazi prison truck, and they have been held prisoner. She's been drained of her blood, held upside down.
Right.
He's been beaten. They are dirty, and they are being transported. They probably are. Yep, they're probably holding in a shit, both of them.
Oh, definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
And what happens, Adam?
They go to town. They have insane sex. They have prison transport sex that continues all the way through their truck being blown up.
With multiple positions.
Yeah, they have they have sex for a while. Very interesting events happen, actually, during their sex. One of the things is there's a moment where she gets the fangs out, and he's like, nope. And it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What is this? Like, is there normally vamp play in her sexual activity?
I sort of think so.
Wow.
It's very funny because I think it's like she can't help it.
Right.
She like forgot. She's
right.
Like, oh, right. Sorry. Yeah.
And it's like, so like how many thralls from her sexual escapades exist?
And you know, he was thinking of it. He's like, all right, keep an eye on her fucking fangs.
Of course. He's not stupid. He's not stupid.
Everybody knows fucking a vampire is risky business. High risk, high reward, I would argue.
Presumably high reward, yes. I can't imagine a less believable place to have sex. Like in a coffin, I don't know. It's unbelievable.
This is... All right, if they had set up that they were like... Honestly, give them a jail kink. Something.
Yeah.
Give them a reason. Because what happens is they do it wordlessly. I think I need people to know that.
Yep.
Is they just look at each other
and agree. They agree.
Yeah, you might as well have had them lift the scripts and read that they have a sex scene.
That's right.
Because they look at each other and are like, this is where we have sex. And as we've established, they've had, like the other BloodRaynes, no relationship. No relationship established between them.
Nah, not really.
They just look at each other and go, it's time to have sex now.
Yeah.
And they're not in even any trope. Like, it's literally like, this is the only chance we have in the movie. Like, it felt like Uwe Boll went through the script and was like, I know I need them to have sex. Where can I have them have sex? And he scrubbed the script and was like, holy shit, there's nowhere for them to have sex but this one part. So I'll add it there. Because they also wordlessly get dressed afterwards.
That's weird too. Yeah, why would they do
that?
Yeah.
It's hard to describe how fucked up. It felt like I literally was like, did that even happen?
How emotionless and transactional it is in the least possible place I can think of offhand to do it.
The best excuse you can give them is that they think they're going to die and they're like, one last lay. But then say it, have them say it, or have some sort of agreement. Like, it would have been a good comedic beat if they were like, if he like hit on her earlier and she's like, listen, if we're gonna die, maybe, but no. And then in this scene, they both look at each other and she goes, yeah. You know, like that would have been a setup and payoff. It wouldn't have been good.
Sure. No, it would have been a little better than the movie is. So like, if you take this at face value, which I guess we have to at some point. So like, she's pretty horny and she gets off on danger, right?
Right.
That's got to be what it is. That's got to be like the only times we've seen her have sex have been in dangerous situations. Or
you
after
could argue
dangerous.
she's looking at this guy and she's like, they're gonna kill him immediately. I might as well ride that D before it expires.
Right. Or maybe maybe the fact that he's about to die is actually part of it. You know.
Right.
And I don't mean that. Again, I'm not trying to be a dick. I actually feel like that's consistent across all the movies.
Right.
Don't
Also,
you?
humans are meaningless to her, right? Because she's been alive for so long.
That's the question. That's really the question. Is like
we've talked about it with Twilight, I'm sure too.
Sure.
Which is like it's like fucking a gerbil,
right?
Where it's just like it's not going to be alive that long. It doesn't.
It's
matter.
really just like that. Yeah. No. It doesn't seem like she like that's. This is where it's like hard to understand what her actual feelings about her life and like humanity are, because she does treat this sex as though it's disposable.
Right.
Like, they don't seem like they're together after this. Every time we've seen her have sex, it's disposable. And more than that, she has a bunch of monologues in this movie that we haven't even mentioned yet, where she's like, I'm so tired of being a vampire hunter. I just want reprieve from that. But, like, she doesn't know what else her life could be. You know?
Right, and knowing this is the final film, and I'm sure he suspected as much, you'd think they'd give her closure.
Yeah, right.
In the movie.
Right, like she would like gallop off into the, like, you know, like retire to the French Riviera or whatever.
Yeah, and
or
spoilers,
die.
They don't do any of that.
No, they don't do any. No, she's going to be a vampire hunter forever. Like, there could be a BloodRayne 4000. You know, like, there's no reason why there couldn't be. But, like, honestly, like, her dying would have been interesting here. Right?
Yeah.
I think that
would have been more interesting than what they do, which is nothing.
Yeah, that's right. So eventually,
I'm sorry. They fuck on this transport.
Yeah.
It's dirty.
Yeah,
and
it's
again,
gross.
as we said, the jail fetish is clearly strong in Uwe Boll, where it's like he sees people in jail and he's like, "That doesn't that make you horny? That makes me horny. Let's have them fuck." Like, that's what he does. And so it's like a running joke where you watch it after the first two and you're watching for the jail sex, and getting to this scene, it's like he knew. And it's just like, there it is. There's the jail sex. And it makes no sense. They just fuck. Again, multiple positions, not tastefully done, not emotional.
Not at all.
Just like Cinemax fucking raw dogging. And in the back, and like no one hears them. They're not handcuffed. And then they have time to get back dressed. They're just comfortable.
Not being handcuffed is the most absurd part of it for me.
Right.
Where it's it's like, bro, come on. like
the
why
absurd
would
part
they
is,
do that? You know?
For me, it was them getting dressed again because they got because what I realized there is, they got full naked, and it's like, all right, if you're gonna fuck, they're fucking in public,
right?
Essentially, and like fucking in public, you never go completely naked. You just get the parts that you need out.
Yeah.
And so, like, the fact that they were comfortable and like getting fully naked implies comfort. And they are prisoners.
It does imply that, yes.
And that's what's funny about it is they get fully naked and then they get dressed and they're like getting dressed casually and slowly, like they're in a bedroom, like they're like it's any other sex scene. And it's like, no, you're in the back of a jail truck.
It could have
like, like I was fully expecting them to be like spooning. And like
that'd have been amazing.
Yeah.
You know what else would have been funny is if they cut, like, right as the sex scene ends, they just cut and you hear that guitar sting from Jackass. Like, doesn't that feel like exactly what it could have been? Like, like a dare. Like they did this on a dare or something.
It is the most. It's
absurd.
One of the most inappropriate scenes in any movie I've ever seen.
It's wild. Meanwhile, the B-side Rebel team that's been, made up of like one person you've never seen before and another guy who's been there to be like, I don't like her. Like that's all they are. Stages a pretty effective road act of terrorism.
Yeah,
they blow up a bunch of trucks, including the one they're still fucking in, right? Like I think they're still having sex when the explosion happens. Am I wrong?
I don't know because they do show them getting dressed.
Okay, all right. So maybe it's right there. Okay, so maybe it's right there. But like,
there's definitely like you know, the jizz has been thrown, not fucking a minute before the explosion.
No, it definitely still has that smell in the air. It's the whole thing. It's not comfortable in there. So like the truck gets like almost blown up entirely.
Yeah.
Right? Like by dynamite. So like they should be dead, obviously. They're not. And like this prompts basically like the last fight that's kind of a road skirmish.
Right. So the Commandant, I noted this. He drinks more of BloodRayne's blood in a vial
to like Hulk up, I guess.
To Hulk up, which spoilers does anything
nothing
for him.
Does absolutely.
But he does that, and Clint Howard goes like, "No, that's for the Fuhrer." And I was thinking, did you not drain her body several times?
Yeah,
that's all you have. Where's the rest of the blood you drain? Again, they make a note. It's him setting himself up to fail. He sabotages himself. They have him go out of his way to say, "Oh, we've drained your blood several times. Isn't that amazing? We're gonna make it a big deal out of that fact." And then they also make a big deal of him drinking this vial and him going, "No, that's all we have." And it's like, well, why do you have those two scenes if you're not trying to sabotage your own plot?
Yeah, man. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It really feels like Uwe Boll. It's like he's allergic to good ideas.
To coherence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I was kind of checked out on what her blood means because to me it just seemed like
that's the other thing.
This movie kind of has like a blood fetish in like a who cares way, you know?
I don't know because they were like, that's for Hitler. And it's like, yeah, but drinking her blood doesn't make you a vampire.
Exactly.
Does it?
Right. That's unclear. Right.
That's unclear because they're trying to hold on to her and everybody else has to be bitten. It's you bite them. That's how they become a vampire up until this point. So I don't know why the blood matters.
I mean, maybe the plan was for the Commandant to bite him, like so he gets the vampire powers,
and then drink her blood.
Yeah, like
that makes enough sense. Yeah,
I guess like the.
But then you wonder, how did he become a vampire in the first place? How did her friend in the first BloodRayne become a vampire when she just bit her?
Yeah, well, she didn't though, right? Her friend.
She
didn't.
does. They kill her. They cut off her head.
But they don't kill her because she's a vampire, do they?
Yeah, they do. When you remember Michael Madsen finds her, and they're like, "We better kill her because she's a vampire."
That seems
so like the rules of this is if you bite someone, they become a vampire.
If they don't die, if you don't kill them.
If they don't die, yeah. But then also it's like Interview with Vampire rules where it's like, but sometimes you also need to drink the vampire's blood, which makes more sense than anything. But sometimes you don't.
I've grown to appreciate vampire movies where the only way to be a vampire is a ceremony of sorts.
I like the drinking of vampire's blood.
Yeah, me too. That makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a reverse Uno card where it's oh yeah.
Yeah,
that makes
It adds a kind of like you don't get accidental vampires, which is a real problem in vampire movies in general, and a huge problem in this one.
Right.
You know, like because accidental vampires kind of eliminates what's fun about vampires.
For sure, but I do like. See, that's why I like the drinking the blood is because you could theoretically force a vampire to turn you if you get that vampire.
Right,
and they're
right,
like, oh, what the fuck? So it creates an opportunity, but it has to be like it's enough. It's enough of a situation that you don't get vampires willy nilly. It's not like zombies.
It's hard to do. It's like breaking into a bank. You know, I actually think that's a fun movie idea. Like in a world where people kind of know vampires exist. And they track one down, they're gonna make them into a vampire. That's a fun movie idea, Dave.
Oh yeah,
write that down. We should do that one. Right. That's a fun one. Seriously.
I mean, What We Do in the Shadows is a little of that.
I haven't seen that. I know I'm the only one.
You haven't watched? Oh,
I know.
So
I know.
Because the idea is they have the interns who want to be a vampire, and they kind of string them along.
That's
and
so
the idea
good.
is, as one character is like, "That's fucking it. I'm becoming a vampire." You know, like. That's the idea.
Okay,
like,
never mind.
Yeah, there's
Scribble
the promise of you'll become a vampire.
Scribble it out, Dave. Don't write it down.
Right.
Producers erase.
Well, there's a version of that. My friend had an idea that I like too, but it's also kind of close to What We Do in the Shadows, which is a guy hanging out with vampires that all the vampires just assume he's also a vampire. But they realize, like, oh, you never turned into a vampire, did you? Like, and it's just years, and he's just like, yeah, he's just a pale guy who like stays up late. Yeah. And it like occurs to them
That's
later,
pretty
like,
funny.
Yeah.
He's just like he's passing as a vampire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I guess like the only thing you need to know about the rest of this movie is so like they have a final showdown.
Clint Howard gets shot.
Clint Howard gets shot. He dies in a very funny way, but he gets shot after he sees all this ruckus, right? And he says, "Okay, see you in Berlin," and then yeets out of there. It's really funny. It's a very funny leave, and then he gets shot immediately after and flops in the funniest way possible onto the snow.
He does. He kills it. He sticks the landing.
Very good. Yeah, it's very, very good, and I really appreciated him for it.
But the main thing that happens, so I want to go back to Commandant.
Oh,
so
great.
Commandant is he drank BloodRayne's blood, right? This is the third BloodRayne. So rules of escalation, it's like, ooh, he's the big baddie. And so he's turning people, he's invincible, he's a vampire. He drinks more of her blood in the truck. And so you think like, oh, this is his super shredder moment.
Right.
What's going to take this man down?
Right. He's going to be super shredder. That's right. That's what they were setting up.
Again, everything Uwe Boll's doing is he's working to sabotage himself because it turns out that his one weakness is Big Rock. Because what happens to him is he is knocked on the ground and BloodRayne picks up a large rock. Not that large, but a cinder block size.
Reasonable sized rock.
Yep.
Yeah.
And throws it at him, and he doesn't deflect it. He just smashes his head.
It happened so fast. It happened so fast that I was like not paying attention, and I realized, wait, is the movie over? What the fuck?
Yeah.
I had to rewind and watch it again. Yeah. I had to rewind and watch it again. Yeah. That was it.
That's it. That's his weakness is rock to the head. And again, it's like they end on this message to everybody, which is vampires aren't powerful. Like it seems to be the thread throughout these movies is like a vampire is very powerful, but also you can hang them, you can shoot them, you can crush their head with a rock, you can do just about anything to kill them.
Like
and
a very little bit of creativity will save you from a vampire every time.
Right.
Every single time.
And it's not like BloodRayne, she's fine. She barely gets hurt in this battle. There's no stakes. No one dies that we care about. It's not even close to the Ben Kingsley fight. It's just she smashes his fucking head in with a rock, and that's it.
Yeah, he doesn't even
He's
say
dead.
"you ungrateful bitch" right as the boulder comes and collides with his face.
It's nothing. It's nothing.
It's really a bummer. It's a bummer because it's like it's sure it's anticlimactic the way you'd expect, but it's a bummer because it's like at every moment Uwe Boll could have made a different decision to make things cohere. Or just the fun of wow, we really went in a zany place here. Like if he
spend a moment thinking creatively. Spend a fucking moment being like, oh, what contraption could she use to kill this vampire? What are the rules? Set up the rules. Say this is what kills a vampire. Okay, now that we know the rules, let's play with them.
How do we play around?
Nope.
Yeah.
Rock to the head, and his head caves in.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
He doesn't catch it. He's not super fast. He's not super strong. It could have killed anybody that way.
It would have killed anybody. It's a real dumb... It's like the equivalent of having a heart attack on the toilet.
Yeah.
It's just all right, that's how you die, I guess.
Rule of making a vampire movie.
Great.
If you kill the main vampire in a way that you could kill anybody, then rewrite it. Like, if anybody can die, even if, like, a stake to the heart, you could argue anybody could die that way.
Yes.
And so rewrite it.
Yeah,
rewrite it.
Find a more creative thing.
Find a more creative way. If a vampire, your rules, dies from a fucking rock to the head, that still can't be how the main villain dies. I'm sorry.
Figure it out. That's like literally the first way we killed people.
Yeah.
It's like the first idea anybody had to kill somebody was like, what if I threw a rock at their head?
Right.
First way, and they did it, you know?
Yeah.
Second way is pushing them off a cliff. That would have been the second worst thing you could have done.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, it is, again, it's like he's allergic to success, allergic to coherence.
Yeah.
He does all the wrong things. It's amazing to watch.
It was really bad. It cut to like, oh, she's going to invade a bigger part of Germany with the line, Guten Tag, motherfuckers. That's the last line of the franchise.
The first line is my mother was raped.
Yeah.
And the last line is Guten Tag, motherfuckers.
Yeah. And
of
then,
this movie.
Of this movie. And then when it goes to credits, it cuts to a song that I swear to God had to have been performed by Stained.
It's like some new metal bullshit, right?
If it wasn't Stained, it was somebody that really wanted to be Stained.
Yes, and I want to point out, this is 2011.
Yeah, it was a minimum 10 years out of style. Minimum. It was, very, very poor choice of music. I just felt very depressed after this. I actually did an hour of work after this, Dave, and like, you'd be surprised how much I forgot in that hour.
Oh, yeah, I had a meeting, and it was like...
You forget
like that
shit.
whole middle part just left me because I didn't write any notes to cue that up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like you almost have to write notes with some of these movies to like remember what you're doing.
I legit do that where I say, this scene is about blank.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's not even an observation. It's just something to get me to remember, to get me through it. Yeah.
Because it gets real fucking vague in there after, like, and I guess that's kind of the blessing in disguise. For those of you who have watched or are going to watch this movie to, like, as a companion for this podcast, the one promise I can make you is in a couple of days, you won't remember it.
You won't remember.
It'll be gone.
It's great.
It'll be gone. So that part's great, you know?
Right now, I have vague, like, splashes of color that is the first BloodRayne.
I don't remember it at all, other than
I remember
the Michael Madsen stab.
Yeah. And then the second one, it's fading quickly.
Ooh, I bet that one I remember.
This
less.
one is on its way out. It's kind of like when the adults leave Derry and it, where it's just like their brains like it's like some Lovecraftian magic where it's like. So that I think it is because then you might look at this movie and go, "Ooh, I should watch BloodRayne." You know,
maybe,
even if you've seen it.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Like, so I guess like my thought is,
so you can forget how bad it was.
The thing that makes bad movies stick around is that they make big swings and miss. This movie and none of the BloodRaynes took big swings. They took mediocre swings and miss.
No, this is T-ball and they miss. Yeah. It's T-ball, and then the bat goes all the way around and somehow smashes them in the back of the head. Like, that's what it is.
Sounds funnier than anything that happens in this movie. So that leads me to a really important conversation I wanted to have with you, Dave. And I know you don't have all the time in the world today.
No, it's fine.
But that conversation is, so what are we doing here? What are we doing, man? Are we going to keep doing this?
This was a mistake.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Watching these movies was a mistake.
Like these, I feel like these weren't bad enough for us. Am I right about that? Like they weren't.
It's hard to tell. They're a different type of bad.
Yeah.
Because I would argue, so the 50 Shades of Guy and Guylight were about mainstream movies. They were also tied by the Twilight universe. Technically.
Right. So we broke off from here. Yeah.
We broke off, and that's why you could argue that's why it's BloodRayne.
That's
right.
You know? Yeah.
But those were about mediocre, big budget mainstream films, right? Movies that were like
mediocre is generous, but yes.
Yes, but I do think so. I think that we've hit the. I think we're on track in that. I think it's about impossible films. And what I mean by that, it's films that people just don't think about and don't watch.
Right.
And they just think, like, those movies are over there.
Yeah, we're going to do it. Yeah.
Exactly. And films
that's
that
pretty
aren't
broad.
for us, I would say this is the most a film series has been for our target audience, which is, I think, why we maybe was a mistake.
Yeah.
Because you look at Twilight and 50 Shades, like, I think the fun is us going... Like, I feel like we should be doing, like, romantic comedies or, like, you know, we should do Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that.
Yeah. Or, like, some of those Martin Lawrence movies where he dresses up as a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Although I think those are actually kind of good.
Fuck, are they? Okay.
Yeah, I think they might be good.
Okay.
But you're on the right track, which is, like, these corners of the world, of the cinema world, that are generally considered schlock and trash. And we are unlifting that rock and really looking at it. And so for that sake, I think BloodRayne is a good addition.
Okay, sure.
But it did open up our world a little bit, the parameters.
Yeah, it really did. So like, but see, I also think like this is proof that we do need a certain threshold of like, I guess, budget or capacity for the film for it to really land. Like,
well, I would
like
argue
this one
our criteria is, can we add a Guy or Bud pun? to the title.
Or Pal. Yeah, can we add Pal to it?
Yeah.
I agree. That is really our criteria. But like, so like, is Hunger Guys off the table? Is that a thing we would never do? Is that are they too good?
The Hunger Games, I would argue Hunger Games are the most surprising film series to me.
Because they're kind of good?
By the end, they are.
Okay.
I would argue that the Hunger Games is bad.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
what I thought.
And then the last film, without spoiling much about the Hunger Games, what the Hunger Games is it feels like it's that young adult craze where they don't know what they're saying about dystopians, like societies.
Yeah.
They just know that this is hot right now. You know what I mean? And you think of like 1984 and that genre when it was done like back in the day. And you think like those movies are tragedies. They're saying stuff. They're not for teens. You know, they're not like heartthrob movies. And that's like the problem with Hunger Games.
Right.
Is that it like wants to be 1984, but then it also wants to have like cool action and hot teens and stuff. And I would say the first two do a lot of that. The third movie shook me because the third movie does something where you're like, oh shit.
Oh, we're really doing it now.
Yeah, they had
an
an idea. They had a plan. And that's
okay.
what it is the third Hunger Games sticks the landing so much that it made me like the whole series.
I see.
That doesn't mean we can't talk about it.
Okay, I'm
but
just curious.
it's definitely that Twilight feel where they're like, we need blank versus blank, right? We need a Team Jacob, Team Edward situation. Like they're doing all that shit. But they at least knew what they were doing. Like, if you remember, Twilight just sort of ends.
If I remember, I kind of remember, Dave.
Yeah.
Twilight seemed like, in hindsight now, having done this a few times, Twilight seems like a real unicorn because so much money and talent was behind it and in front of the camera. Like all these talented people are with it, and they're just nonsensical.
Yes, it's one of those things that people are going to look back on and be like, wait, they made 5 of these?
Right.
And you'll watch them and be like, what are these?
Right.
How did they come from?
Right.
You know, it's like you ever go back and you watch like old movies from the 70s and you're like, holy shit, Sean Connery's in this terrible film. And you're like, how'd they get him? Like, and then you realize like, no, people make bad movies all the time.
Like, so I'm kind of wondering if like Charlie's Angels or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fit into this.
That's tough because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one is good.
Oh, it's not that good, Dave. It's not that good, Dave.
I think that's all right. TMNT is hard because I've watched all of those films way too many times.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
So I think part of the criteria should be
we shouldn't have watched it much.
We should be like
relatively
entering
new.
this world.
Yeah, relatively new.
Yeah, to us.
So, but Charlie's Angels though.
Yeah, I've seen those. There's only 2 of those.
No, there's a few. There's only they've made a recent one.
There's the remake, yes. So there's 3, but only 2 in the same universe.
Okay, I accept that. But I thought they brought back somebody that kind of merged.
Oh, they might have connected it some way.
That's what I'm saying.
Be a soft reboot.
I think they might have. I think they might.
Yeah.
I mean, I know everybody's talking about Divergent, and I'm sure Divergent is an easy target.
Yeah, this is Divergent. It's right there in the
It's
name.
right there. Yeah, it's easy. And maybe
the
we'll
problem
do that.
the problem with that one is I don't think they ended it, which shouldn't stop us.
I don't give a shit about that.
I think the Maze Runner might be a good one because I've technically seen those, but I can't for the life of me remember them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't regret BloodRayne because regret is like, who can regret our time together, Dave? But like, I definitely felt this time. Like, man, these movies aren't bad enough. You know, like they're
it's
shitty.
more that they're not baffling enough.
Yeah, they're not baffling.
Like that's the other thing.
Right.
Twilight and 50 Shades created this world that never existed. And it's not that it's a bad movie necessarily. Like the cinema, like the actual filmmaking, it's more of like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this mind that created this world? Like it feels like the product of a writer working some shit out. And you could again argue that BloodRayne is that too, where it's Uwe Boll's little fucking mind spitting out this bullshit. But yeah, there's just it's not the same. It's definitely not
Underworld?
the same. There's not Underworld. I think we should think about love stories more too.
Isn't Underworld a love story? I've never seen them.
No, Underworld is like the slightly better version of this. It's I've seen the first couple.
But they get very stupid, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I guess here's the question: what direction do we want to go in? Do we want to stick to vampires and sexiness?
I don't care about vampires.
Or
Sexiness,
do we want to go with like love story, like relationship movies? Because Underworld is not a love story.
What about the Tyler Perry movies?
Those I also hear are kind of good.
Okay. I don't know about that, Dave. I've heard conflicting reports on that.
Right.
I mean, Resident Evil's another one, Dave.
Resident Evil, well, me and Tom did an entire series about all of them.
Shit.
So,
okay, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad, Dave.
Unfortunately, we covered Resident Evil, and there were a lot of them, and that would have been interesting. But it kind of runs into the same issues where you get into the later ones. It's just like, oh, this is just a bad movie, you know?
What about Police Academy?
I mean, that's a possibility.
That's not outrageous, right? Police Academy?
That's not out of the realm. It's hard because it's like a vibe, so it's like
that's a little bit not quite the vibe, but also it might be perfect.
It might be perfect.
It could be perfect. You know,
that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, Police Academy is pretty chill.
I don't know if we'll solve it right here.
We might not.
But I know there's some easy ones. There's some, your Guy Virgins.
Yeah,
there's some ones where it's like, yeah, we might as well do that.
Sure.
Maze Runner, I guess.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's others out there.
Did you know there are 4 Spy Kids?
Oh, yeah. I sort of knew that. The Spy Kids are hard because those are actually not bad.
Are you sure, Dave?
It's Robert Rodriguez. So there's a floor to
baseline quality.
Yeah.
What about the Saws? The Saws are mostly dumb, right?
I think they're mostly dumb. Yes. Saws, I've only seen Saw 1 and 2, so that's a good possibility.
Okay.
There's several human centipedes, but I never want to watch those.
No. Also, Step Up. Step Up,
See, there we go.
Step Up.
Didn't they just make a you're on to something. Isn't there like the Bring It On series too, like the cheerleading series?
Well, the first one's good. The first Bring It On is good.
I don't never seen it.
It's
I don't
good.
know.
I've seen it. It's pretty good. Step Up feels like it can't be that good.
There's also High School Musical, Guy School Musical.
Guy School Musical.
Yeah, I think we just hit the vein.
Guy School Musical.
Yeah.
That's the worst idea.
We have to now.
Oh my god, I don't want to watch that.
How many are there?
That's not a thing I want to watch. I don't know. Let's look it up. I'm looking it up right now on the podcast.
That's the point.
High School Musical. Let's see. That's gotta be horrible.
At least 3. There's at least 3.
Let's see. They're all
High School Musical.
They're all. Oh, there's a TV show. We're not including that.
No, we're not including that.
High School Musical. I'm looking it up.
I can hear you. This is just us Googling. This is just us Googling now.
Okay, High School Musical, High School Musical 2, High School Musical, El Desafío. That's one of them. High School Musical 3, High School Musical China.
Yeah, see, this is the vein.
High School Musical China.
Yeah, I think if we want to do the main thread, I think there's just 3, but then there's like spin-offs. I'm also seeing something called Camp Rock from Disney.
Oh, Guy School Musical.
Yeah, see?
We might really have nailed it here, Dave.
I know.
That might really be right in the wheelhouse.
Yeah. How could it not be?
Yeah.
How could it not be?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to hate that.
Yeah,
that's Zac Efron's in it? Oh, no.
He is it. He's like the main thing.
Is that his thing?
Is
that how we know him?
I think so.
Okay, well, I just want to say, I think these things made a lot of money.
Yeah, that's what makes them perfect, right? For what we're trying to achieve.
They're directed by Kenny Ortega.
Yeah, who did This Is It.
So they're probably not that stupid, right?
I don't know. They're just not for us.
Yeah, they're not for us, right?
And
so they
I
might
think
be stupid in a fine way.
Yeah, and I think that's perfect. Where it's like, I like that it's something that's like it's not for us, but we have to take it seriously and watch it and think about the characters and their high school drama. This can't. I mean, I don't know, man. Yeah, I know. But it's right there.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I feel like you and I are doing a series of stunts. I feel like what we're
it's
doing
like
here
eating.
is a
It's like
series of
eating.
stunts.
It's like eating shit on
Right,
camera.
it's like Fear Factor. It's like
Yeah.
like you and I are doing a Fear Factor episode, but as podcast hosts.
Right.
You know,
but we're gonna have to do this probably.
I
right?
guess Guy School Musical. I feel like we need
It's
Tom.
right there.
It's a great pun. I feel like we need Tom or somebody to be like, guys, it's actually not that good. Like, I just want to know that. Like,
You want to be talked down. You want to be talked down.
I want to know for sure that it's going to be stupid.
Right.
Like, what if they're like coherent? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what if they're like, oh, that's actually pretty good?
I don't know, man.
Would that ruin it?
This has 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb.
That's pretty bad. That's the first one.
That's the first one.
And
yeah.
that's skewed up because it's a musical, and I hate musicals.
Yeah.
Like hate them. Like legit hate them.
Yeah. Let me check its Rotten Tomatoes.
It's
score.
got a different director every time. That helps.
That helps.
That really helps.
Okay, it's got a higher Rotten Tomatoes score, which actually makes sense because Rotten Tomatoes tends to skew that way. Man, yeah. Someone tell us if this is dumb enough.
Yeah.
High School Musical 2 also has a high rating.
It's got a
High School
65 on Rotten Tomatoes. I feel like that's
High
pretty
School
low.
Musical 2 has a higher rating than the first one. Yeah, I don't know, man. But I think we're on the right track.
Like, that's actually the right zone for us.
I think so, right?
I mean, I can't say it's the wrong track because I don't want to do it. You know, I feel like that's a key ingredient. It's like, oh, not that. Like, that's always a key ingredient to why it works. Like, nah, not that. Which is how I felt about this, and we were right. We were right.
Yeah,
we were right. It
There's
was really
also,
bad.
Yeah, but I do think this is the direction we should go in, or like those other how there's like a bunch of Van Wilders or American Pies.
Oh God! Oh, there's so many American Pies.
We could
American
do
guys.
a Man Wilder. Man Wilder.
American Guys is also pretty good.
American Guy.
Because
yeah.
those are all really bad, right? Those are all really bad movies.
Yeah, there's also the Santa Claus movies, but those are kind of.
Those are
I think
okay.
those are a little more. Yeah.
Those are okay.
There's a lot of shit out there.
Yeah, there's more than you would
think. They made a lot of them. Yeah.
Well, you'd think that it'd be hard to get a 3 to 4 movie series out of some of these film ideas, but like, boy, is that not true. Like, boy, yeah, High School Musical feels right. The one you just said feels pretty good. Not Santa Claus, the one before that.
I don't even remember.
Fuck me, man. We're in trouble. American Guys.
American Guy.
I think that's a pretty safe one, Dave. I really think that's that's going to be right up our wheelhouse, right?
Yeah, I think the only problem with those is that the first one is, and the second one are like, and the third one, they're all comedies. So it's hard to be judgy on a comedy much.
No, when it's a dated sex comedy?
Oh, yeah, it's still going to be atrocious.
It's going to be atrocious. Sure. I mean, it's not going to be Porky's, but it's going to be pretty bad.
Right. Oh, yeah, no, it's already dated.
Oh, it's
it was dated the moment it came out.
Yeah. I mean, like, the premise is atrocious.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think I only saw the second one once, and I was on acid.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I've never seen any of them. Like, I just have no interest in American Pie at all.
Yeah, I think the filmmaking is better than you think. I don't know. That's definitely
right.
Yeah,
but like,
that's on the list.
Twilight's
for sure.
competent. Like, that's the thing. Like, Twilight never confused you about what you were looking at. You were always looking at something that made sense.
Yeah, I think what it is I want to play up the juxtaposition between who we are and who the movie is. Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, the closer we get to like the Babysitters Club, the better. Where it's like, this is not for us.
Boy, we really didn't think about that. Yeah, the Babysitters Club, like any of those, like,
there's a bunch of those
tween movies, like like Encyclopedia Brown, if that exists, like something like that. Yeah.
There's a lot out there.
Yeah.
The future is bright,
Yeah, I guess it is. Bright. It doesn't seem bright from this very gloomy,
not for us,
vampire cave we're doing this from.
I want to bring it back to what's this movie called?
BloodRayne. You want to bring it back to that?
Well, I have one last question.
Oh, great. Okay, sure.
What is the ranking order of these movies?
Oh my God.
From what you remember,
I think it's got to be the first one is the best one. I think.
Well, here's the problem.
Yeah.
This one is short. And that means a lot to me.
Right.
And like you said, this is the closest to what I think he always wanted BloodRayne to be.
You want this to be number one?
It might be my number one because the presence of Ben Kingsley is almost sad. And the first one's like an hour and 40 minutes.
But it's also really funny, though.
Yeah.
It's really funny. Like, when you think about it, the wig and the fact that he never left that room.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Here's
really
what I know.
funny, man.
Number 2 is the worst. Number 2 is hands down the
no
worst.
question. No question.
And I guess it's a little neck and neck for me with these two.
Yeah, so like they both are completely incoherent. Something about Michael Madsen having a sword fight still brings a little smile to my face.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the thing is it's like being at a party and it's a terrible party, but in one of them at least you know the people.
Right.
Like you know the people there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Billy Zane having to show up and like
I forgot about Billy Zane.
Do his bit with the letter scribe.
Yeah.
It's pretty good,
okay.
man. It's pretty good.
Yeah, okay, so I think it goes 1, 3, 2.
Yeah,
that is
that's what
the
I think,
official. Stick it on if you run the BloodRayne Wikipedia, make note that the official ranking is that.
So, and I also have to say, like, for me, I don't want to watch softcore movies. You know what I mean? Like I don't like softcore movies. I don't want to watch them. So
no,
like the fact
no one
that
does unless they're a teenager.
Pretty much, yeah. So like the first one was was almost a softcore movie, but sort of evaded it by not like doing the Skinamax stuff. The third one really was like, no, fuck it, we're doing it, and like that turned me off to the movie a little bit, especially because like this, like why is she doing this when she didn't do it in the previous movie?
No,
she's bad for her.
Not. Yeah, she's not a character.
Right, and it's like, well, she was more of a character in the second one somehow, and it just felt bad for the actor. Yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't. It was not my favorite.
This is all pretty sad. It definitely gets sadder because as the budget goes down and as the movies get worse. You know, like when you start with BloodRayne and you realize like
that's the best. That's the best.
That's the best one. Yeah, that's as good as it gets.
Yeah,
it's a real fucking bummer.
It really is. Like I also think that the third movie didn't have a single choice as bold as Transylvanian Billy the Kid. Like that was such a choice, Dave. Like that was like a
but
big
that movie
swing and
was
dick
so
of a choice.
boring.
Oh, it was horrible.
It was so boring.
Horrible movie.
I still think this one was better because this one I could see what was happening.
Yeah, but I also didn't
it was
care.
dark.
I didn't care at all about either of
I
them.
didn't care about this. Yeah, the second one either.
So what is it about this one that's better? Honestly, is it just that it's short?
Yeah,
and it's shot a little better.
Yeah, it's a little easier to see.
Wow,
that's it. That's it. Yeah,
wow.
that's.
Because I gotta say, like the more I think about Transylvanian Billy the Kid and the children in the pulley noose, I'm like, I don't know, man. that part's a pretty epic decision.
For me,
I don't know.
See, for me, I'm deciding between getting kicked in the balls and getting kicked in slightly in the balls. You know,
well, that's
where it's like,
choice.
oh, that one nicked my thigh a little bit.
Right.
So like that one's better.
I didn't get the full toe in the crotch. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is like it's shorter and I could see it a little better.
Right.
And it felt quicker.
But I also think Nazis, to me, like making Nazis the subject of every movie is a big downgrade of a film. Like,
yeah. I mean, I would
bad.
say this is probably the worst film in terms of filmmaking and story. The third one.
Wow. Still though, like, and the reason I say that just so it's clear, I just think that if you're gonna do Nazis, you got to do it right, and this is really just sort of throwing Nazis in front of camera to have a bad guy to kill.
Yeah,
and that's like, nah, don't. That's cheap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my problem with it. I also am just sort of burned out on World War II stuff. Am I the only
Everybody
one?
is. That's the thing is the concept of Nazi zombies and like Nazis in general, like it's just gotten so overused. That when a movie, like, there'll be movies now who will be like, it's Nazis, but they're zombies. And it's like, you seriously? You're stuck in 2005 still?
Yeah, 30 years ago, that would have been cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, holy shit. Like, this must be like a 90-year-old producing this one.
Right.
Who's just not with it.
Right. Who just really thinks they stumbled onto something.
Yeah, and this was 2011. And I would argue even 2011, Nazi and vampire. It's just like, come on, man.
I found it dull, but it's hard for me to know when I would have found it dull. Would you find it interesting to know that the actors were constantly praising Yuva Bull's producing ability.
Huh.
Like the lead actress was like, he's going to go down as a legendary producer.
That's
so that fascinating.
He's very good at budget stuff, is what I'm hearing.
And
there.
scheduling and keeping to a budget and schedule and like logistics. And that tracks. Yeah. That tracks for me.
That does track.
He is really good with logistics, it seems.
Yeah.
You know, that's fascinating.
Oh,
to me.
yeah. The fact that he made one of these and then he made two more is like, well, he must be producing this well, right? He's
got to have some gifts in that department.
Yeah.
Just to be able to get the money together for it, you know?
Yeah.
That's impressive to me that he's able to, because again, the other franchises we've watched were not a writer director's baby. They were like studio darlings, and they were so bad that they let the writer control them both. It seems like,
yeah,
maybe not Twilight, but certainly 50 Shades. This was like one man's passion project. You know, that nobody,
right.
I don't think anybody was asking for it. I don't think the studio's like, hey, how's it going on BloodRayne 2? It's not like a Spider-Man movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah. That's interesting to me. Well, I hated this, Dave.
Yeah, I kind of want to bury the DVDs I got.
Oh, I've thrown them out already. They're already in the trash.
Okay.
They're already gone from my house.
No, I'm going to frame mine.
You're not going to frame them. Get the fuck out
I
of here.
have to remember what happened here.
Get out of here. You're not going to remember. They're just going to go right alongside your Colm posters.
Yeah, they are.
Your Colmtopus that you have like slathered all over your fucking apartment.
Hell yeah.
Like, honestly, did you keep the 50 Shades DVDs?
Yeah, they're somewhere. I keep DVDs.
DVDs you keep?
Yeah.
Why? You're not going to watch them again?
What if the internet breaks?
I mean, sure, but that's a problem of such
magnitude. What if the apocalypse happens and
But you think in that situation we'll still have electricity?
Yeah.
That's a strange belief, Dave.
Well, you have like generators and stuff, and it's like, what if I'm in the last fucking pocket of civilization and someone's like, you know what I could really go for?
BloodRayne.
BloodRayne. And I'm like, well, give me some water, and I'll give you BloodRayne.
Give me 2 units of water and dirt for my food, and I will trade you a BloodRayne. Yeah, because BloodRayne is a hashtag apocalypse currency. That's what people need to tag us this time if they've gotten this far in the podcast. Hashtag apocalypse currency.
Yep. Yeah, well, in the future, all money will be BloodRayne DVDs.
And here I am throwing out a fucking windfall of cash.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
you're going to regret it.
We agree, though, the woman on the cover box is not the same actor, right? We agree.
I don't think it is. Yeah, I don't think that's the same.
That's really bad. Really,
it is very
really
bad.
Why did they call it Third Reich?
Because it's the third movie.
Is that like really? Is it that bad? Is it like as bad as our puns?
Of course
it's like
it is.
That lazy?
How could it not be? Like, how could he not? Yeah.
It just depresses
it's called
me.
The Third Reich.
Like, you and I are trying to make the worst podcast ever. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make some of the worst podcasts ever and, like, showing that there's no bottom. This guy's, like, our equivalent. Doesn't that upset you, Dave? This guy's, like, our equivalent on the other side,
In
Dave.
the future, this podcast will be currency. Right?
I guess so. People are going to, like, put it on tapes or something. Pass it around on their Walkman. God, can you imagine somebody in the future finding this?
I hope nobody finds
this.
I
hope it's gone the minute it came out. I hope everyone listens to static noise. I don't want anybody to hear this.
I don't know, man. I don't know what people are going to think of podcasts in general, like 60 years from now. I don't think they will.
For real. There's no way. They will. This is not going to survive 10 years. There's no fucking way.
Well, it's like, do we listen to old-timey radio, you know? It's
Hell
like
no.
some freaks might in the future. But generally speaking, radio, which is essentially what we're doing, is a fleeting thing where it's like it's around for like a week or a month, and then it's on to the next fucking thing, you know?
Aren't you worried that you're kind of raising that army of freaks who might keep this alive?
That's the whole point, yeah.
Oh, boy. So you're making You're making the vampire army. It's you doing it.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah,
both are.
You're the successful Yuva Bull.
Yeah, go forth, my thrall.
Go forth, my thrall.
Yeah.
Let me get a sip of your blood before you go.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Your powers. I guess why not is a good question. I guess so.
What's the point of doing anything if not to slowly acquire power?
And blood. Right.
And blood. Yeah.
I don't know.
And
I got a giant vat of blood, Like it's it's fucking Jurassic Park, but instead of embryos, it's all those little blood containers in my apartment. They just pop up, and I'm like,
yep.
Just
a bunch of little vials.
Bunch of little vials of blood. That's what I got.
Why not?
And a little cooler,
a
little cute little cooler.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I don't get Dennis Nedry ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hashtag cooler full of blood. Why not?
I feel like you and I are.
My God,
are we still podcasting right now? Or is this a dare we're taking?
I think we could do plugs and stuff.
Plugs,
I think all of these have been about 2.5 hours.
All right,
and I think that's a healthy for BloodRayne.
Healthy.
Like, this isn't. This is our. I think this is our Age of Ultron, where it's like it's like it's in between. It's not quite. It's not the showdown, but it's entertaining enough. I think people will enjoy what we didn't
quite nail it. We acknowledge this is no guidelight.
Well, it's not our fault that the movies suck, Like, that's the thing is I think we nailed it for BloodRayne. I think this is the definitive BloodRayne podcast.
No doubt. I think it's astounding that you forgot 20 minutes of this movie. I think that's like legitimately astounding. And I don't blame you for it. I just find that fact like truly delightful in hindsight.
It is. It really is. Like at this point, I've already forgotten 90% of this movie. Like, it is bleeding out of me like I'm hung upside down,
Yeah, and unlike BloodRayne, you don't just have infinite blood to give.
Exactly.
You got a certain amount, that's all, like a normal person.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this happens. I go back every now and then and look at the We Just Watched.
Yeah.
And some of the titles of the movies, I'm like, I don't know what that is.
That's
I've never heard of that in my life.
That's incredible.
Because it's just like, well, if your job is to watch movies every week, there's going to be some where it's like, oh, that clearly wasn't a good movie because I don't fucking remember it.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. Yeah. I understand. I had to watch 5 movies this week to get to a director piece I liked finally.
Damn. Yeah.
Well, I mean, sometimes you like watch a movie and they're like, it like there it is, I got it. And then sometimes it's like, fuck, there's just nothing here. I think if we weren't forced to do a podcast, there's absolutely no way we would have covered this out of interest. Absolutely, you know what I mean? Like this movie would have shucked you like a Brahma bull.
Wait, BloodRayne?
Yeah, all of them.
Oh, I wouldn't have watched it.
Well, but what I mean is like.
But if you're saying if I watch, if I was for some reason if I put this on, not having to watch it for a podcast,
and just
I wouldn't have finished it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Right, and like I watch movies all the time with the idea of like, hey, maybe I'll find an interesting idea because of my podcast.
Right.
And like. There's no way I would have found it in this one.
Yeah.
No way.
Being someone who watches, like back when I wrote for Cracked, I used to watch movies all the time for that reason.
Right.
Which is that when you do Cracked articles about movies, there's no research. What I mean by that is you're doing like, X people from history who are actually dipshits. You can go online and like type stuff out and like do research. If you're doing X plot holes in movies that were hidden by editing, you can't like find that online.
You have to just watch movies. Right.
Yep. And you just have to. And what I would do is I'd have like 10 premises written down and I would just watch movies all day. And then when I found something that fit one of the premises, I'd write it down. And that's all you do. And so like, I guess this is all to say is that used to be what I did. Now I find my movie watching time valuable. And because I have to watch movies for podcasts, it's the opposite. Where if I sit down to casually watch a movie, it's got to be like a movie I want to watch.
Yeah, I'm really into it. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm finding that's true of video games now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I completely understand that instinct.
Yeah, because it's like from a critique point of view, it's like I have to watch so many fucking movies anyway that like that is fulfilled. That like I don't have to make myself watch a bunch of bullshit. I just have to for work. So then when I'm watching this for fun, yeah, it's going to be a movie that I absolutely want to watch.
So to be clear, is this the most you've suffered for a podcast, these 3 movies?
Probably not.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
I know it wasn't Twilight. And I know it wasn't 50 Shades then.
It's hard to know because this was short enough. Like, for example, I remember I covered, I think, Streets of Fire for Best Bad Movie. Okay. And I found that movie to be awful and dull. Okay. And then when we recorded the Best Bad Movie, 40 minutes in,
lost it.
They lost the footage. Yeah. Amazing. Adam was like, no, it was even worse. Adam was like, oh, I forgot to hit record. So we had to like start over. And that felt like suffering. There's been, there's been other movies that I'm like, this is absolutely a slog. You know, when it's a long movie, especially.
Losing a podcast is a truly despairing act. It's not as bad.
It really is.
It's not as bad as losing a movie,
Child,
or obviously not a person. But like I've lost I lost half of a shoot once when I was at Cracked.
Oh yeah, that'll fuck you,
dude. I like that. That took me a good 30 minutes to really calm down because I was like very, very upset.
It's awful.
You know, it's like I put months of work into this. You know, like and I had to fix it on the fly, and it was really stressful. But losing a podcast is in a way more demoralizing because it's not about coming to grips with it. It's about knowing I'm going to legitimately just have to do it again.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to bring that energy, and I'm going to have to talk about this bullshit.
Yeah.
And if we don't schedule it soon enough, I'm going to have to like watch the thing again.
have to watch it again. God, are you ever going to make your patrons watch this on a Friday?
No, maybe the first one, but even the first one is like it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
You know, like some movies are like, I don't know, man. Like this happens a lot where people are like, "Let's watch this; it'll be so fun." And it's like, I don't think you remember that movie.
It's pretty shitty, actually.
Yeah, I don't think you remember that boring movie that like perhaps like has sexual violence in it and like
that's the
is
thing,
like a drag, and it's like every now and then. Oh yeah, every now and then people will be like, "Let's watch Evil Dead," and it's like I want you to think about Evil Dead for a second and then come back to me about that stuff like that. Where it's like I'm not saying the movie's good or bad. I'm saying there's some movies you just don't watch in a group.
Yeah, they're just not the right vibe.
Yeah, and this is one BloodRayne where I'm like. In theory, it's funny, but I think a lot of it would just be fucking boring.
Like, what if I was like just demanding to watch Requiem for a Dream with your patrons?
Right?
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I'd say you guys go and do
put
that.
It on. Yeah,
enjoy it.
Can you imagine?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would literally just say you guys enjoy that and go do it.
Yeah,
like I'll be over here not watching it.
I'll be over here not seeing that again.
Yeah,
never seeing that. Right? It's Human Centipede. You know, like that's
yeah. Where it's like in theory it sounds fun, but it's not. It's
that
not
movie,
fun.
Yeah. This movie at least sounded like it could be fun, and it wasn't.
It wasn't fun.
It wasn't fun. Are you ever gonna like? Does this win any awards for worst costume to you? Is this the worst movie costume you've ever seen?
It's kind of the worst movie costume.
I think it is too.
This is
it's pretty
for
bad.
A video game adaptation. It's bad. It's bad. It's cheap. It looks cheap from beginning to end. First movie to last movie. It looks inappropriate always.
The accents
there's a lot
are like the accents are usually enough for a movie to be thought of as a bad movie, just for mildly flubbing it. Like Robin Hood Prince of Thieves is a movie that gets mocked all the time because Kevin Costner didn't do an English accent, and it like really undermines the quality of that movie. And that movie is 10,000 suns worth of explosions better than this.
Much better, yeah.
Way better than this.
No, this movie is just, it's, I don't want to be mean, but it's like there's no reason for this movie to exist. Like I hope somewhere there was a doctor who was like trying to save a child's life, and he watched BloodRayne 3, and some like term in it made him realize how he could save the kid's life.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I hope there's some good that came out of this, but it really feels like it's like there's no reason for this movie to exist.
Did you know that Uwe Boll was fighting his critics for a little while? Like he was challenging to boxing matches?
I know, because Sean Baby tried to fight him.
Right.
Yeah.
And he backed down?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a tale I didn't know until the first episode released.
Yeah, Uwe Boll, like I don't feel bad like insulting his work. Because I know he's like
if
not
he's challenging
great.
people to fight. It's like, all right, bro.
Yeah.
Come on
exactly.
Come
There's
on.
a certain point where it's like someone crosses a threshold and I go, okay, you know what?
Enjoy your money and opportunities. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Enjoy them, man. You know, like you have that going for you.
Yeah.
You know, you have
Precisely.
that going for you. Anyway, so keep a hold of these in case the apocalypse hits. Because they'll be worth something.
They're currency. They're currency.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts on this, or are we good?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready to plug. Yeah. If you somehow have endured the 2 hours and 30 minutes of this podcast and thought, I'd like more. I feel like I could have more. I'm pleased to inform you that I have so many more things that you can listen to. The main one being the One-Upsmanship podcast I do with Michael Swim about video games. It's on the iHeart Network, which means It's on any of your podcasting devices. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Lay a little review down if you really like it so that more people listen to it. We'd sure appreciate it. Or you can go over to the Patreon, the Small Beans Patreon, patreon.com/smallbeans, where I do podcasts of many varieties with some of your old favorites from Cracked. That is Michael Swaim and Abe Epperson and my pal Maggie Mae Fish, who, by the way, is coming to help me with a class I'm teaching this week, Dave. So that's a fun artifact in history. She's just going to come help me with a class I'm teaching, which will be adorable.
Like pass out like Tess?
No, it's a directing class, so she's going to be an actor in it, and the students are learning how to direct.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
Right. And also, I don't like handing out tests, so you were right. You nailed it, Dave.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's where all that is. If you're like, but I'd like to hear Adam and Dave talk again. Unfortunately, we've never made another podcast. So
yeah, there's nothing out there for that.
Unfortunately, there's nothing.
Only this 7.5-hour long podcast series.
But pretty soon, this won't be there either. Pretty soon.
Yeah, this won't exist.
Yeah, pretty soon.
This never happened.
This never got released.
Hashtag this never happened.
Now I don't even know. When people put hashtags on the internet, I don't even know what it means now. Because we put so many out there. It's like, is that a thing? Did I say to do that? Anyway, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, yeah. I'll still get hot guy-light hashtags where I'm like, well, I don't know.
It'll be like, what is that? Free the burrito.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you mean? I don't know.
Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, idiot.
Yeah. Listen, Adam, thank you so much. For
my pleasure.
And if people are interested, they can go to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. There's exclusive podcasts on there like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. As reference, we watch movies with our patrons every Friday night.
Sure do.
You can do custom podcasts. There's a lot of things on that Patreon. You can also go to gamefullyunemployed.com. There's a link to our Teespring store. And there's merchandise and all sorts of fun stuff. You might even find a Guy-Light shirt on there, I think.
Is there a Guy-Light shirt?
There's bound to be.
No.
There must be.
Why? Is there really?
I don't know. Maybe there's
dumb.
not.
That's
Maybe
dumb.
there's not.
God,
I don't know.
if you own one of those, I do not want to see that. I do not want that to exist.
That's fair.
Delete
Imagine walking down the street and seeing someone run at you at full speed.
That's my worst nightmare.
Wearing
Dave.
a Guy-Light.
That's my
shirt.
worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Imagine.
And I don't mean excitedly like the T-1000 style.
Right. They're hunting us as they should be. This is to remind them of their target. What if one day you and I make a movie that's successful, Dave? And we've moved on from this endeavor.
Oh,
and
my
there's
God.
just gonna be fucking people out there who's like, I remember you from Guy-Light.
Oh yeah, what if we make a movie and Robert Pattinson's in it and he's just staring at us and he's like, Guy-Light, is it?
Guy-Light, huh?
Fuck.
I was the Batman, motherfuckers.
Yeah,
I know.
I'll get bullied by Robert Pattinson. That sounds fun.
That actually does sound kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Hashtag bully me.
Hashtag
daddy.
bully me. Bully me Batman daddy.
Yeah. Bully me Batman daddy. That's going to be one.
Hashtag bully me Batman daddy.
Years from now, people are going to be hashtagging us and they'll be like, I can't even begin to know,
I don't know
why we said that.
Why would anyone say that? Are those words?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Yeah. Bully me Batman daddy.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Goodbye.
Farewell.
Farewell.
That's it.
That's it.
Fuck this.
End of podcast.
All right, bye.
Bye.
BloodRayne is brought to you by the following fantastic hypecast producers: Mercurial Oz. Driftless wrote Mabel's name in the witch's book in blood. Ombre says, Mabel, step on me. Heathcliff's helping handfuls. A conveniently placed self-destruct button on the top of every baby's head. James Cameron's prolapse locomotive. Snapper car punches God in the dick. At nerd numbers. Like the Lurker. Dracula, the bus-driving vampire. Brookway loves the meat Millie. David, the knife boot before Christmas Hinson. Grumble Bee. Screaming Horse Pyramid. Look ma, I'm on a podcast. Jay, the Crow Baron, says give us a crow emoji, hashtag join the murder. Deborah is awesome, Barbara is great, and cancer can go to hell. Numano ultra-microscopic silico-volcanoconiosis anti-disestablishmentarianism Jones. Rosemary's Baby from Eraserhead. Cheese Killy Tits. D7Bs. Breezy Booeasy. Glitteris, CFO of Michael Shannon's Chocolate Factory. Davy, the ghost of East Las Vegas Francis. Oh great, it's that guy. Chester's Prophet. Definitely not Guillermo del Toro. Brian Domnos. Bob Grenville. Steven. Han Toomey, the confused cyborg. Asking Seven, rest in peace, Michaela, you were the best of us. Evil Ed 209. Menishevitz Multov says economic solidarity is the path to paradise, comrades. Tiger draws Brett Thompson. Raindrops keep falling on my head. Dan Heckroyd. Cody Johnston's time machine noise. Beat von Bagel. Follow viral TikTok superstar Jason Badger on TikTok and buy his new book. If this book exists, you're in the wrong universe. Dale Griffith, the shower curtain fella. The midnight patron, what patrons at midnight. Exploding runes. Andrew Howe, deck the halls with blood. Vincent, with a Y. Rev MD. Butler Butlerson. Tux. Ricky Cilantro. Norm from Cheers. No one can hear you scream in space, McNulty. Your mom. Nolan's cornucopia of Tubi movies says watch Muay Thai Giant. Jeff May's guest station toaster pastries now available at no guest stations near you. AJ. Tip Drizzle. Cube 2 Hypercuburito Mouth. The ghost of Dave. Ghosts are already spooky, but I forgot about Halloween, Thomas. Aaron Burser. Christopher Robert Spots, Esquire. Mackenzie Fuck shuffling with Willem Dafoe's confusingly large dick chin. Funky J mostly comes out at night. Mostly. Pie Guy. Ho 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 ho.